We ought to add that to our requirements.
The Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, May 22nd is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Dorband.
I'm here.
Commissioner Johnson, I am here. Commissioner Powers.
Here.
Commissioner Schaff.
I'm here.
Commissioner Stylen.
I'm here.
Commissioner Zangara.
I'm here.
And Chairman Raffato.
Here. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
We have no changes. You did receive some supplemental materials, including the first item on the agenda tonight.
Great. Okay. Citizens' concerns and comments? At this time, if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on matters other than those items for review, now is your time. Consent items, we have none. Items for review, docket number PC 14-9, Salata 1083 Lake Cook Road, minor site plan appearance approval for modifications to the exterior of a restaurant. Sir.
The Plan Commission probably recalls this item was in front of you last week in discussion of the proposed modifications to the patio. The Plan Commission had requested that the petitioner look into increasing the size of the patio. You have since received plans showing a larger patio. The landscape plan has been adjusted accordingly. In addition, the petitioner has also provided images illustrating the revisions to the proposed window coverage. And that was sent out yesterday, what you see here, as well as the detail of the frosted glass. So with that, I would hand it over to the petitioner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I guess, do you have any questions? We kicked the tires pretty good last week, and that's, you know, the plans show what I think we were all talking about, bringing the concrete, to half of the bed and making space for 14 seats. And we included a railing, and we will match Starbucks. And just, if you have any questions or would like me to explain something further, please let me know.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaff.
I don't know. It looks good to me. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powers.
Same thing, and thanks for the railing all the way around. It's appreciate that.
Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you. Are you happy?
Absolutely, yeah.
Think it'll work real good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I do have one question, Andrew. If you could go back a couple slides to the front view of the Salata. The image on the left-hand side, the half pane seems to have writing in the bottom half of that almost leftmost pane, the one that has the first small piece that says Salata. You don't have any writing in.
No, I think that was an accident on the graphic designer, so maybe just a copying error, and she didn't catch it.
Other than that, I think it looks great, and I thank you for honoring our suggestion to give you a little more outdoor seating.
That's great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I have two questions. Last time you said your plans are to move the tables inside at night when you close up. Do you have enough room for all those tables now?
I do, yeah. All of the tables are movable, and then you would, you put the chairs up and put them together. It's definitely temporary. First thing in the morning, you take them out.
Okay. And my other question was, what happens with that irrigation control box? It doesn't show up on the new plan.
You know, we're gonna, let me see. So the landscaping layout where the irrigation control is not exact to scale. It's actually closer to the edge of the concrete. So we will either move it over 6 inches.
To get it into the landscape
To get it
area?
into landscaping, yeah,
I'd rather see that than have it formed into the concrete.
absolutely. yeah.
Okay, that's all I had, thanks.
Mr. Zangara?
To refresh my memory, what was the hours?
We open from 11 to 9.
9. And 9, just a question, with the widening of that, now you're farther away from the building, is there enough lighting, I'm guessing, from
I
the
would-
parking lot or something? I would assume there's enough,
I would think so.
Okay.
We definitely will be aware of that, but the parking lot is lit, and there's a lot of windows on that side, so I don't see it being an issue.
okay, that's all I had, good luck.
Commissioner Dorbin?
Nothing, thank you.
And I have nothing,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
a question. I think the petitioner last week said that he was only going to be open 5 days a week or 6 days a week.
6 days a week.
But then later his testimony said that maybe after a year or two, he might expand to 7 days a week.
Yes.
I was wondering if we should just modify the petition to include the option for him to open 7 days a week and not have to come back before us.
Actually,
The special use ordinance that preceded this particular review does include that flexibility, so he would be good with it as it's written. He would be able to add Sunday if he feels that Sunday is worth the additional, I think you said you need an additional manager to cover
Yeah.
those shifts.
I think it's a training issue, so we ramp up, so eventually we will open Sunday on that location. But, and then I think we're approved already for Sunday.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I have nothing, good luck. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
A motion by Commissioner Dorband, second by Commissioner Powers. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Dorband,
Yes.
Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I say yes, Commissioner Scheff,
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen,
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara,
Yes.
and Chairman Raffato.
Yes. Thank you, good luck.
Thank
When
you.
do you expect to open?
I'm hoping August 1st. We should get a permit pretty soon, and then we're off to the races. So.
Good.
Very good.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
I think you'll have something to sign.
You're not going to have a gravel floor like you have today, are you?
No, I don't. I told them.
I liked your dressing.
Yeah.
Very good. Good.
We'll see if I can check that. Thank you.
They have no preservatives. You gotta use them quick.
Calling dockets number PC 14-7, SCBA 14-11, Route 21, Auto Wash and Detail, 400 North Milwaukee Avenue. Site plan appearance approval for an amendment to an existing car wash special use, and appearance approval of a wall and freestanding signs. Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. We actually, on this, a brief explanation, because it is not a public hearing item. The petitioner is proposing to renovate the existing car wash located at the corner of Mayor and Milwaukee. The item is being reviewed as a major site plan review, which is going to require a recommendation by the Plan Commission and ultimately approval by the Village Board. There are sufficient differences in the zoning code between today's code and the time that this was originally approved as a special use. So ultimately, what we will do is repeal and replace the ordinance for the special use, just to clean up the code references. clean up the legal description. There has been some modifications to the property lines since this was originally approved. So there will be some paper shuffling involved should the Plan Commission recommend approval of this. With that, what I'd like to do is go ahead and have the petitioner present. There were a couple of items in the staff report that I would expect they will pick up during their presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
If you could just speak your name and work address so we can have it on record.
Sure. My name is Michael Fursell. My work address is 2801 Lakeside Drive, Suite 207, Bannockburn, Illinois. I am an attorney representing the petitioner on this matter. Thank you very much. You don't swear in anymore?
It's not a public hearing.
Oh, good point.
That's why I said,
Okay.
or else you would have been.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I have been at the Plan Commission many times, but it's my first time in this building, so it was a while back. Anyhow, for well over 25 years, my friend and hopefully many of yours, Al Schwab, and his wife May have been operating the America's Car Wash on Milwaukee Avenue. Al has decided to start enjoying the fruits of his labor and is going to retire from the car wash business. He has been a tenant there for many, many years, is the owner of the business but not of the property. The petitioner, in addition to proposing to make a major investment in the physical plant, which we will discuss this evening, is also purchasing the entire property. So he is making a major investment not only in the business, but as well as the real estate. There is an existing purchase and sale agreement between the petitioner and the property owner, and there is also a termination agreement between America's Car Wash and the petitioner. So all the stars as it relates to this matter, as it relates to ownership, leases, have been aligned. As you might be aware in reading the packet, the original PUD, or the original special use, for this property included a car rental and was later amended to include a truck rental. The reasons for this is that based on the number of cars coming through on a daily basis, it was necessary and is necessary to supplement the income, because the operation of the property, the rent, taxes, and everything else have been unable to be supported solely by the car wash for many, many years. In the instant case, the petitioner has an entirely different business model than it currently exists today, which does not include automobile rental or truck rental. And as you can see from the packet, the amended PUD will, I keep saying that, I apologize, the special use will not include any sort of rentals whatsoever. It's purely going to be a car wash and detail center. The reasons for this is because of an increase in expected volume at this location. Currently, a full-service car wash is $17, and the prices go up from there. There is a possibility of a lower amount going through and just having your car simply wiped off at the end for $5 or something like that. This is a $3 car wash. However, it also includes full service, and it includes detailing, and it includes full detailing, which has to be done indoors because of the nature of the type of detailing that they do, and certainly when it's raining outside and the weather does not allow it, you can't do detailing. And by the way, the tent, which was currently there and was approved in his amendment to this special use, is also being eliminated from the request. So there will not be an outdoor tent covering the detail area. All of the detailing will be done indoors. And as we go through the plan, we can explain how that detailing will work. The hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. The number of employees will be reduced because there will not be hand drying at this car wash. Currently, if you're familiar with it, you go through the tunnel, or your car goes through the tunnel, and then at the end, they have several guys there to dry off your car. One of the reasons the car wash tunnel is being extended 40 feet is because of the additional significant amount of drying equipment that when the car comes out of the tunnel, it will be 100% dry. So at the 40-foot addition, which they're proposing at the beginning, that'll be more of the wash area, and then the end will be much more of the drying area. If someone were to purchase only the $3 car wash, they would pull up to the kiosk, which will be manned. It is not a self-service kiosk. There will be someone there at all times to determine what type of service the customer would like, and the customer would then pay, and they would then go through stay in their automobiles. And in this business model, regardless of the service you get, you stay in your automobile the entire time. If you choose only the $3 car wash, you will pull directly out and you will exit the property onto Milwaukee Avenue, or depending on how crowded it is, we might have to use Mayer Avenue. The number of cars coming through the car wash in this business model is significantly greater than what is there today due to the price point of the ability to go through very quickly, get a complete car wash, and of course, if you want full service, which includes, it's not exactly a detail, but if you've been there today, full service is vacuuming, wiping down the interior, the tires and the like, all of that, as well as the significant detailing, takes place inside. None of it takes place on what I will call the exit apron, so there will not be any stacking of cars whatsoever when someone pulls out of the car wash. They will either drive out onto the street, or they will turn and go into one of the detail bays, regardless of the fact that it's either a detail or a full service. So I just wanted to explain the difference in the business model that is being proposed. The petitioner currently owns and operates five other car washes using this same model in the Chicago area. The $3 car wash is the draw. It is the trademark of this, and if you have seen any of the others, this will have the same type of coloring, lettering, and the like. The closest one to this one is, I believe, on Rand and Lake Cook. It's Lake Cook and Hicks. I keep saying Rand, but it's on Hicks Road. That was a car wash that was built and failed, and it was vacant. And it was, again, not a business model that had any sustainability. My clients bought it, took it over, and it is now extremely successful. That is what they intend to do at this location. Knowing Alan May, I've known him 30 years. They're very good friends. I've been inside the car wash many times, and I've actually seen what we call the guts, the machinery, the equipment. And unfortunately, it is functionally obsolescent in today's age. The machinery and equipment currently breaks down regularly. It is not the best wash that you can get with the best equipment. The petitioner proposes to install all brand-new equipment in this, at this property. The only thing that will remain will be as you can see from the plan, which we'll go through in a minute, is the existing building and the track on the floor, which of course will be extended, that pulls the cars through the tunnel. So all new equipment, all new facades, and we'll get into that in a moment, and an entirely more modern, up-to-date way of doing business in the car wash industry. As many of you know, almost every gas station today has a car wash. And folks today who own car washes have to distinguish themselves from a service standpoint, and there's only two ways to do it. One is price and one is service. And so this business model is a lower price and it's better, quicker service. And you don't have to buy gasoline in order to get a significantly lower price on your car wash. With that, I'd like to invite Tim Opfer, who is the designer and the construction partner of the petitioner, to join me, and we'd like to take you through the slides for this site plan. And of course, as I already know, we will be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. As you can see, the existing main building will remain. What is proposed is two additions. The additional tunnel at the beginning, which I've explained is because of the large amount of drying equipment, the tunnel has to be longer to accommodate not only the washing equipment, but there's shines and there's waxes and there's other types of applications that have to have their own stations as you go through the tunnel. So for it to work, the tunnel has to be longer. I think that's about 40 feet?
59.
59 feet, my apologies. So that is one addition, and that's where the cars will enter. By the way, it lines up directly with the current entrance to the car wash. So all we're doing is extending that out 59 feet. The other addition will be the car wash bays. And as you can see, these car wash bays, this works. Thanks, Andrew. This will be 10 car wash bays with doors that will open and will close. Hopefully they'll close if they open. It was a silly comment. But the customer that has a detail or full service will pull out, will come around, and will pull into the bay where they will have their full service or detailing done. Like I said, there will be 10 bays. We will have full-time employees detailing the automobiles. We will have full-time folks at the kiosk. Most of the time, only one kiosk will be in use, but at very busy times, and knowing Chicago, this winter, you probably had maybe 5 days all winter to get your car washed, and everybody showed up at once. So on those days, we have the duplicate kiosks in case it gets very busy, so they can take money from both sides. As you can also see, the line goes all the way to the south, other than the existing landscaping. Currently, the car wash line is somewhere in this area, but it will be moved further to the south. Going back to the building, the current showroom area will be completely remodeled. And in order to create a sense of a presence and certainly design, we are increasing the height, as you can see on the elevation, which we'll see in a moment, of this area. The current entry door is right here. Now the entry door into, once you drop off your car for detail, because that's the only time you would need to get out of your car. The current entry will be right over here. It will not be in the front anymore where there are cars coming out. So there will not be any pedestrian conflict with automobiles as someone going in here. Will there be an exit?
There'll be a service door from the detail bays
Right.
and a hallway to the lobby.
So if somebody comes into the bay to get their car detailed, they can stay indoors and go directly into the lobby, which will have a waiting room with things for sale and seats to wait and Wi-Fi.
2 new handicap bathrooms updated.
Yes.
So we're going to remodel the whole bathroom. The existing lobby.
Mr. Alford, could you either come to this microphone or grab the wireless, one or the other?
This okay? Yeah.
The existing lobby right now, it has about a 10-foot ceiling. The concrete ceiling that is over the existing wash goes over that lobby. So in the elevation, if you could switch to that, please, Andrew.
Hello.
The glass front,
Give it a second.
okay.
Technology.
Hey, we're back.
Okay, on the new one, you see the service door, the entrance door into the new lobby area. That's all going to be just clear glass. But above the ceiling, existing ceiling line, that'll be a non-transparent opaque glass. Because basically what we're going to do, it has existing concrete ceiling. We're going to build on top of it just to give the building some height and kind of make a statement on their front. The rest of the building, like where you see the wash exit, that currently has a facade over it, which is going to be removed, and all the brick on the exterior, it has a solid cinder block with a brick veneer. We're going to remove the brick veneer and do the whole thing over with the new brick to match the brick on the outside, because basically we're touching the whole outside of the building, except for the part that adjoins Pete Miller's restaurant. I did bring a sample of that brick.
We were asked to bring materials and
This is the color we're proposing for the new wash. So everything that you'd see from Mayer or from Milwaukee would be this new brick.
can you show us while we're on it, the materials for the area of the lobby here, these features?
Yeah, the storefront is pretty typical, just going to be extruded aluminum. This would be the material for the framing of all the glass. And the actual corners of the building be a matching color in just a aluminum sheet. And then this is the opaque glass that's going to go above the door, where we don't want it to be transparent, where there's actually just a roof behind it. And below this would be standard glass.
Okay. Thank you. This is a good page to stay on for just a moment. As you can see, there are 5 wash bay entry doors, and of course, each would accommodate 2 automobiles. The new tunnel addition, which is where my pointer is now, again, all of this brick finish will all be compatible and look the same. As the front does, as you're looking in from Milwaukee Avenue, you will be able to see that. Is this door going to remain, Tim? This door?
No, that's going to go to the side.
Right. This door will correct that, will not be here. I'd also like to point out that the lettering, the $3 lettering, is red. It's white outline with red inside it. Okay? And this is the rear where you enter. And of course, this is the new entry. So this is part of a new building, that 59-foot tunnel. And this top here will be new, as well as this area, which is the car wash bay. You want to go to the next one?
Which one are you trying to go to?
Okay, so we, as you can see from the plans, there are currently, I think 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces that are there. These will be vacuum-free, vacuum spaces for automobiles to come in, vacuum your car. So if you still want to pay $3 and get your car vacuumed, you vacuum it yourself, and then you still can pull around for the $3 car wash. I don't want to encourage it, but if you want to vacuum it and don't want a $3 car wash, you probably come in, vacuum it, and drive away. The landscaping, it's kind of hard to see on a large plan, but we do intend to break up the north border from Pete Miller's. Right now, there's just nothing there. And due to the fact that we don't need a 4-lane exit area for stacking of automobiles at the recommendation, and great recommendation from staff, we're putting landscaping here to close this gap up a little bit, because basically you're going to have a left out and a right out when someone exits the car wash. Of course, the landscape aisle, which we'll see in a moment, will be vastly improved, and the area today, which is landscape, will also be enhanced. New plantings here at the exterior of the entry into the lobby or the showroom for the car wash. As to signage, again, unfortunately, I didn't catch it. Pardon me. The $3 and the words car wash in gray will be red. That is very prototypical of all of the other car washes for this company. That is their trademark. The landscaping, you can see a much better depiction here. As you all might know, there's not a lot of room for landscaping on this site. And so where there is an ability to enhance the landscape, we are doing so. As it relates to the larger sign, we are going to be building a 2-foot base, all brick, to match the exterior of the building with I call it a lip. I forget what you call this part. Limestone. With the limestone cap, thank you, the limestone cap. And as you could see from the prior slide, there will be significantly more landscaping in there. One of the challenges of this site, and it has been a challenge for others who have come to see to acquire the site, is visibility. Due to the improvements or changes to Pete Miller's, their deck, their brick wall that they've built, it is much more difficult to see this car wash if you're going south on Milwaukee Avenue. It's very hard to see, and being a new business and hopefully a successful one, we've spoken to staff. This is to the very top from the ground, 18 feet. It's 16 feet on top of the 2 feet for this base. We did not go to I think the code maximum is 20 feet. We wanted to stay below that. However, visibility for a car wash is of paramount importance. And we're also in a geographic area that there's not a lot of residential here, and across the street, down the street, we see a significant amount of signage, and we believe that this size location, especially with the base that we are going to put in, we do believe this is very compatible with the area. The other signage is obviously, this is within code, and certainly I believe this is the reader board here.
Yes.
There's a very small portion of the overall sign that will be a reader board announcing specials and wishing everybody a happy holiday, open, closed, whatever it might be, and the like. What's next? Did we miss any, Andrew?
Did you see the floor plan? I think there
Yes.
was a detail of the floor plan in there.
Yeah, let's do that. So the floor plan is very, very simple. If you might know, today, there are currently bay windows here. Okay? Are these going to be windows?
Windows, yeah.
So people, this is the entire tunnel. The walkway that exists there today, where you drop off your car, you go through the tunnel, and you go down a walkway, that will no longer exist, because no one's going to be getting out of their car when they go through the car wash. So this walkway will not exist. Part of it is being taken for the bays, for the depth of the bays, and all of this will be the car wash area and the equipment. Of course, this will also be, this is where the current tunnel starts, this is where the new tunnel will start, and the like. The walkway that Tim referred to earlier, if you drop your car off, is right here, that goes directly from the detail bays into the showroom area or the waiting area. Okay, and of course, this is the other exit out into the parking area, into the showroom area. Okay? The back here, and I don't know if we have a better picture of it, or depiction of it, will be 10, I believe, additional free vacuum areas. So we have a total right here. Thank you. This is the one. I think we have a total of 20 here and here. So plenty of room for people to vacuum. Parking for employees will be here along the northern boundary of the property. As you can see, we have numbered the queue so as not to block the entrance. Oops, I'm sorry. Let's go back. So as not to block the Mayor Street exit, which we still believe we need and when it gets very, very busy. You can still queue 24 cars here at once without coming across here. The area between the detail and the property line is significant, so there is plenty of room for an automobile to pull in or pull out without interfering with someone coming into the car wash area or into the queue to have their car washed. As you can see, and we didn't touch on this, landscaping along here will remain. And as I said, this will be landscape. This landscape will be enhanced. This landscaping will be new, as will this, right here and right here. Tim, anything you want to add?
Let's open up for questions if you guys have any questions, which I'm sure you do.
So that's our presentation. We are requesting that the Plan Commission recommend the modification to the existing special use in accordance with our petition, understanding that it will, with what Andrew said earlier, it will have to be redone to comply with current code. And by the way, the closing is currently scheduled for the end of June, with construction to begin immediately thereafter, and to open within 4 months?
Yes.
To open within 4 months. So it will be closed for approximately 4 months.
Thank you.
While we remodel. Thank you very much for your time, and sorry for the lengthy explanation. We just did want to give you a full picture of what's going on.
Great, thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with a couple questions, and I'll let my fellow commissioners ask some more. Is Mayor a one-way street? I was there a couple
Yes.
days ago. So it's one-way going east?
East, that's correct. You will not be, there are currently signs there saying no right turn. There's
Right.
only a left turn, and aside from the no right turn, there's also a one-way sign.
Right, because it looked
directly
like the
across.
street was a little bit narrower. It looked that way, okay. The landscape plan that you presented, it looks pretty good, but I would like to see a little bit more detail on it because, like, types of plants, types of grasses. You mentioned percentages, which I think is part of what our code is, so maybe you took what was in the code and kind of like put that in a landscape plan, but I would like to see, like, different what types of plants and grass are you putting in there, how much of each one of them, get more detail on a landscape plan, because I'm not seeing that right now.
I believe that the staff report, at least that I reviewed, recommends that staff be allowed to review a much greater detail landscape plan as to type, location, and what's going to be going in there, and we are more than happy to provide that information and accommodate those requirements.
Yeah, I think I just couldn't approve it unless I saw a plan with more detail on it. I was at the site a couple days ago, and I looked at the west end. There's like no fence in the back there. Are you putting a fence on the west end? Because it looked like it was just some, I don't know, brush and stuff like that. Because it looks like you're going to take and use more of the property and go back towards the west. But it looked like when I looked at it, there was like I don't know what it was. It was like brush, and there wasn't like a fine line. Are you intending on putting any kind of fence in there, or just leaving it the way it is right now?
We haven't addressed that yet with staff.
Okay.
But we're open to, suggestions for that.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to see some type of a fence, and it looks like on the north property line, the chain link fence looked like it was in need of repair.
And we intend to do that.
Okay.
That's clearly included in our plan, and I don't believe there will be a huge issue continuing that fence along the north property line if that's what staff recommends. And I apologize,
Oh, no problem.
Commissioner. I did forget to mention, the entire lot will be completely repaved. If you did drive through there are potholes and there's uneven pavement, especially in the back area. Because they're moving some of the lighting and moving right in the middle of the back area, there's an area where the lighting has to be moved. They're repaving the whole thing.
When I also was there a couple days ago, there was towards the rear of the property and the north property line, it looks like there's a entrance into Pete Miller's. Is there a cross-access agreement on their property that allows people to go into Pete Miller's, or is your intention to close that off?
Our intention is to honor the gentleman's agreement as long as Pete Miller wants to honor the gentleman's agreement. It's not a big deal to us one way or the other. There is no cross easement, and it has just been used that way for several years.
Okay. I think that's going to be it for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Zangara.
Thank you. A couple questions that I did come up with here was this is weird, the location of the trash enclosure being up in the front. I know you're putting the brick around the front, but I know, look, you open those doors over and over and over again, they're going to get hideous. Is there a chance to move that to the back?
It's really a function of access. For the
If you could talk into the microphone, that would be really great.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It's
You can
really-
take the, you can
Oh,
take
it's fine.
the,
We're friends. We'll share. Mike doesn't care. It's really a function of getting the trucks into the area to empty the garbage. But truthfully, we don't generate that much garbage.
Right.
It's not a restaurant use or so forth. Other washes are real similar, and we're pretty good about taking care of our property. And if there was repair that was needed, we would definitely take care of it. But with the enclosures and location, and just to get access for the garbage truck,
I just thought about flipping it to the other side of so you could use that little space for more landscaping. That's all, because you're gonna, if people detail car, walk
But we'll
across.
have garbage canisters throughout the lot, especially by the self-serve vacuums. So it's really just for our employees to use.
Okay. And I guess a question I have with the detailing aspect of it. When detailing, if someone comes and has their car detailed, is it I've had my car detailed before, it's a 2-hour, some people drop their cars off, if there's businesses all up and down the street.
Right. We have express detail if customers want to wait, where we try to do it in 20 minutes. And we have more full service. We do full waxes, interior shampooing that will take a couple, 3 hours. And most of those customers leave their cars and come back.
My question with that is I didn't see, I heard you talk about employee parking, and then you have all this parking for the vacuuming.
Right.
Do you need 20 vacuums? Can you lose a couple for that instance if someone gets their car detailed, they leave the car, you have somewhere to park their car?
That's a really good question. All the vacuums that are self-service, they do a dual purpose. People use them just for parking. You don't have to vacuum. Right. This is our...
Excuse me. To answer your question, my name is Dave Lieberman.
Okay, thank you.
I'm the operations. I'm the one who runs them. If you came in to drop your car for a detail, it immediately goes inside the 10-bay detail bay where it's going to stay until it's finished. Now, we do everything from a 20-minute wax to a complete 2.5 to 3 hour detail. Very few customers will wait for but some do. We have a TV in the lobby, and some do wait. Most people choose to drop off their car, and someone picks them up, and then they come pick up the car at 6 o'clock. From the time they bring their car, it goes immediately into the 10-bay detail shop, where that's where it is. So there's no necessary additional parking required because it's inside the detail shop that we're building. That's why we're building a 10-bay detail shop. Traditionally, we'll have maybe 2 or 3 cars a day at most being detailed in those 10 spots. The other 7 spots we save for full serves. For a customer, if they want to pay out, we have a full serve package where they come around after the wash, we dry it by hand, we vacuum the inside, we clean all the windows with Windex, we do all the door cells, the jams, etc. It takes about 15-20 minutes, and then they pull out. So really about 7 or 8 of those 10 bays are for full serves, and the other 1, 2, or 3 will be if there's a full day detail that's being left there, which is more than we've ever had. So there's no additional parking required.
Okay, thank you. Another question I just have, which I've seen these vacuums now popping up everywhere. How do you handle wintertime with snow plowing?
Okay. How do we handle snow plowing?
Well, with the vacuums coming out that way.
Oh, okay. We actually have our own snow plow truck. We actually own our own truck and our own snow plow, and we have our own guy that goes around, and you simply disconnect the hoses. The hoses just disconnect, and the plow goes right to it. So we do actually all our own snow plowing ourselves. In fact, we just bought a brand new Ford snow plow truck 3 months ago, because the old one started getting some miles on it.
I was going to say, that was my question. Well, you're doing your own, so that...
We do our own, and salt, and by the way, salting too. We have a spreader on the back. We salt the entire lot too.
Okay. The other 2 questions I have is kind of regarding this signage. One is, I know the sign that's existing right now, I know the monument sign. You talked about the 18 feet, 20 feet. You talked about building it up 2 feet. So now you have a 4-foot opening. Is that far enough back where it won't distract from someone pulling out and being able to see traffic?
It's designed for that?
Okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, go ahead.
We do not intend to move the sign any closer to the street than it is today. And if you, let's go back to the, Andrew, can you go back to that sign exhibit? As you can see, the pylon portion of it, you can see that that is the height of any automobile or anybody pulling out there will be below where the main portion of the sign is. So if you can see it today, which you can, being there 2 or 3 times a week, this will not make it any worse or any more blockage than is already there today.
Okay.
Will not change.
Typically, what we look at on a sign that's that close to the curb area is the 3 to 7 foot range. So anything between 3 to 7 We try to keep that clear. In this case, as the petitioner said, the existing post probably 4 to 5 feet wide. It has a cover over the 2 posts in there, so you end up with pretty good blockage. This does keep that 3 to 7 clearer.
And my last question is with the pop-up. If you're coming
With the,
with the pop-up at the entrance, the glass,
oh, yeah.
if you're coming down from the north to the south, Pete Miller's is there. Do you see that pop-up past Pete Miller's? Can you see it, or do you still have to, in the design, is it high enough? And I guess my question was, no, just the
The top
The
of the
addition.
sign,
the,
is it higher than?
No.
no, go back to the last slide.
Is
The
it
one in the
high-
bottom, down there.
Oh, this?
Yes.
I don't have the plan in front of me. What's the height of this versus the height of Pete Miller's? I believe this is still lower
Okay, okay,
than the height of Pete Miller's, so you will not be able to see this
okay.
from the north side.
That's what I was getting at. Was it high enough to put a sign on that side or not?
No.
Okay. Other than
We
that-
would ask for signs on 8 sides. if we could. Come on, we're developers.
And is the sign that's there, the one that's basically you're pointing to, is that a box sign?
Which one?
The one that you're pointing to here, it says $3 car, the red one down below? Yes.
Yes.
So it'll be, you have the,
It'll be backlit.
Here, you need to speak into the mic. This is on TV, so people can't hear. Let's just speak into it.
We have thousands of people watching.
It would be backlit. It'd be a box sign.
okay, because a suggestion
Yes.
would be, it's such a, you can have such a nice feature there, can you, instead of doing opaque glass, have that clear glass and have the sign almost behind?
Well, yeah, there's a, that would be above it. That's actually above the existing roof line, because we're not taking the Spancrete, which is over the tunnel now and over the existing lobby. We're just kind of building a facade on top of the existing roof. So behind that, it's just a roof. There's no interior space.
So it's going to be
It's outs-
enclosed, there's nothing, I mean,
Yeah.
will you have to at least vent it or something with,
It'll have 4 sides to it and drainage in the center of it.
Okay.
But there's no interior space behind it,
okay,
if that explains it.
yeah, I understand. Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. For your full service, do you have a price range in that?
Yes, for full, we have, for the exterior washes only, there's several different washes. The base one starts at $3. The next step up is $6 and adds certain options and more, it's more advantageous. The next one is $9, and the fourth best exterior only wash is $12. If a customer wants a full serve, that's $22. That's the only time where a car drives inside the detail bay, where we vacuum it, towel dry it, open up the doors, dry the door jambs, Windex the glass both sides, wipe down the center console and dashboard.
Okay, so your price range is $3 to $22.
That is correct, except for our detail services. Then we have a whole detailing menu of anything from waxing to complete shampooing and detailing of a car.
Right, okay, thank you. I'd like to address the color scheme on the signs again. The $3 on the sign that's out in front, the monument sign, or that sign that'll replace the monument sign, existing monument sign.
Yes, sir.
That $3 gray is actually red.
It's red outlined in white.
A red outlined in white.
Pull up your phone.
Still a blue background?
Yes. Yes. This is, if I may, may I approach? And
I don't think there's a moat there, so yes, you can.
There's trapdoors.
Oh, okay.
This is,
This is one
Now,
of our existing
that shows a red background.
Yes, so does that.
I'm talking about the monument
Oh, the
sign.
monument. The monument.
You have a picture of a monument? We'll get one for you.
Okay.
We were showing you the one that panel on the building.
Yeah, he's asking
No,
about
I
the
was,
monument.
what, the sign that's going to replace the existing monument sign.
There will not be a big yellow Penske on it.
I understand that. You and Penske, or the petitioner and Penske do not have a working agreement?
They do not.
Okay.
While you're looking for that, if I could just clarify one thing that was said a minute ago. There was a question regarding the construction of the sign. The sign details indicate an opaque panel with individual letters on them. The question of the cabinet sign, the construction that the commissioner was referring to was a full illumination cabinet. The detail that we have is not that. To meet our sign code, this would be an opaque panel with individual illumination for the lettering, which is what this structure is.
You are correct. I misspoke then.
We will comply with your sign code.
So it's not going to be a box sign, it's going to be individual lit letters?
The construction, the metal panel may be a box. What's in front of it is individual letters.
Okay, that meets the code, okay.
Yes, sir. We're still looking for the,
Okay.
that, but the
Well,
back,
then I'll, if you find it, fine, but I would like to see the,
exact.
yeah, the details on that, on the sign.
Okay.
Being a car wash, I don't know much about car washes, you know. My idea is to go in, get your car washed, and go out. So, do you reuse?
Commissioner Chef, just to your point, though, and because the signs are so different than what's presented here, I would recommend that we table that, the signage.
That was gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna, well,
Right,
if he
so-
finds that.
Well, but still, it doesn't really,
Right,
the
it really
packet
has no
doesn't
bearing.
depict what we're looking
Yeah,
for.
we
Right.
really need to see the rendition of
Right.
of that sign.
Okay.
Okay. Do you reuse any of the water that you use for the car wash?
No, we do not.
Okay, so you've got a pretty good drainage system that drains somewhere?
Yes, it goes into a pit that's in the car wash, and then the water flows from there into what's called a triple basin, catch basin, which separates, acts as a trap, so no sludge can go into the sewer system. And then there's a three-part trap, and then at the very end of it, only water can flow through it. And about every six months or so, you have a truck come and they suck all the sludge out of the hard solids out of the trap and out of the pit, so you have the drainage. You don't want to be you wouldn't want a car that was washed with reused water, Commissioner.
That's my point.
It would smell like rotten eggs.
Yeah, that's my point. I just wondered if you tried to filter and reuse any of that.
No.
That's what I was getting at.
Most of the cars that are coming in are pretty dirty. You don't want to reuse the
Right,
water.
you don't want to reuse any of that. As Chairman Rafato pointed out, I believe we should table the signage to get a truer picture of that.
Yep.
Those are my comments and questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dorbin.
Thank you. Couple questions. Not that they have, I do have a question to you. Is your other location the one out by Menards? Is that the one?
Formerly, the one in Mundelein where the Menards went out of business?
No, the one that's off Lake
Oh,
Cook.
yes, there's a new, yes, it's right across the street from the new Menards on the corner of Lake Cook and Hicks Road.
Okay, the reason I asked is because both my husband and I were there today, so obviously I do use your $3 car wash, and so does my husband. And quite honestly, at $3, if I were to wash my car at home, I'd be using probably a whole lot more water, so this is a saving in water, which is actually good. The other question I had, it's really not related to this, but when you brought up the fact that you're going to have less employees, I kind of feel bad about that, especially in this economy. And then my other question was, during the 4 months that you're going to be closed down, have you ever thought about the employees that you are going to keep, moving them to another location? I'm just curious on how you do that.
Are you talking about the current employees that are employed there?
Right.
Okay, Commissioner, what the plan is, and this is what we've done at former locations, prior Turtle Wax, there used to be an open Turtle Wax in Mundelein that we had to close down and rebuild, one in Lombard on Roosevelt Road that we did the same thing to. We interview all the employees prior to the wash being closed with that, when we're ready to do so, usually about a week to 10 days. We interview them, they fill out applications, and as long as they have skills and they want to show up to work and they want a job, that's the backbone of our business is employees. So we are always looking for good employees, and anyone that's qualified, we plan on hiring. During the time of when we close down the wash to the time it's ready to be reopened, what we generally have them doing is we have them training at one of our other stores, because even though they know they do things their way at their job site now, we have a specific way that we do things. So even though you can say a car is detailed, but there's many ways to detail a car, and we like to do it our way, so we train them all the ways that we do it specifically, and we put them on staff at our other stores so that when we're ready to open up this one, they're trained in our system of how we like to detail cars, because we do some things particularly that most detail shops don't. We thoroughly dry the carpets, we put in blowers and heaters so no one gets, you don't want to, most times you have your car shampooed or your carpet shampooed at home, it's still wet, and then there'll be a little mildewy or a little condensation. We totally dry the carpeting by using a blowering and heater system, and we stripe the carpeting. We do all kinds of things on the high end, as opposed to give customer back a real quick, done car that was done under a tent, so to speak, which is why we build a 10-bay enclosed detail bay, because you really can't properly detail a car outside in the elements. You need an air gun, compressed air, you need chemicals, you need proper lighting. You can do it somewhat, but you really can't do it the proper way. So we plan on keeping as many employees that are qualified for us, the more the better. Now at our sites, we usually have 5 to 6 at a time working there, which is a complete thing. The only employees that we won't have any use for, unfortunately, is some employees currently in their business model, all they do is dry off cars. They have a towel in their hand, and their only job is to dry off a car. Those we have no use for, because you said you've been through Lake Cook. If you recall, at the end of the car wash, you see the 3 fire heaters that blow the flames out and the blowers that blow it. So they do the drying instead of the human hands. And so if their only job is a dryer, that we don't have a job for. But detailers we do, cashiers we do, because they become attendants in our kiosk. So the only job that we don't have is for someone who just dries off a car. All our details can do full details.
Out of curiosity, when you talk about a full detailing, what do you usually charge for something like that?
We basically have 2 full details, full meaning inside and outside. Of our complete detail, which is our most inexpensive one, is $159, which encompasses on the inside all the carpeting is shampooed, the door panels are shampooed, the dashboard, all the gauges are cleaned and blown out, the headliner is clean, and if it's cloth seats, those are steam cleaned. If it's leather seats, they're cleaned and conditioned, and then the outside, it's buffed and waxed. That's our complete detail. Then we have $159. Our ultimate detail is $299, where we do the same job as the other one. Plus, we have a thing called a clay bar system, which is you use a hand clay bar to remove all the impurities on the paint, oxidation, tree sap, road tar, and then instead of a wax, we use a polymer synthetic sealant with Teflon that, to give you an example, a wax lasts 60 to 90 days because all waxes are water soluble. So when it rains, they dissolve. A synthetic sealant will last 18 months. It's non-water soluble. It molecularly bonds on the paint, cures on it, and it seals the paint with polymers and Teflon. So it's a much more good finish. It's a much more shiny, longer lasting finish. So the two price points are $159 or $299.
Thank you. I just was very curious, and I had to ask that question, even though it doesn't have anything to do with this.
No, actually, it shows his passion for it, too.
Yeah, well, yeah, I do. Well, I'm just so happy to be able to give my money back to Wheeling instead of somewhere else, sorry.
It's 300 to 300. So that's your price range.
There you go.
$299.
One of the questions was about a bicycle parking area. Have you thought about that, or where you would put that, or are they going to be inside, or?
Yeah, well, obviously, we're not going to be washing any bicycles.
No, but people might be riding their bicycles to get there.
Yes, we'll locate a couple bike racks along where the employee parking area will be in case any employees want to ride their bikes to work. Absolutely no problem.
Okay, and the other one question that staff seemed to feel that was maybe a typo was that it says, according to the renderings and the elevations, the walls of the building additionals will have new brick veneer to match the building addition. Do you mean the existing building?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I was sure that that was the case. And then the other staff comment was, according to the rendering, they appear to be opaque as far as the overhead garage door is concerned. However, the material for the new overhead door are not provided. According to the floor plan, the existing rear overhead garage door will remain. And just, can you explain that? How are we going to?
The material for the garage doors.
The garage doors will all be transparent with an aluminum framing similar to the front of the store. The existing garage door that's going to remain is actually the one that would be in the northwest corner. It's actually going to get kind of hidden by the new tunnel for detail where it extends. Can you pull up the let's see. This is fine, actually. There's a existing garage door right here that's going to remain. The new tunnel with the extension will have a brand new door at this end. But this is basically just a service entrance just for deliveries for chemicals, salts that we use in the softeners. So this is the door I believe that we're referring to that's going to remain, which won't even be visible.
Okay, and the other question, let's see, I had, I also wanted to know about the what exactly the landscaping would be, but we've already addressed that. And will you have the whole area irrigated?
We were not planning on it. Currently, it's not irrigated, so for the little bit of shrubbery we're going to add, we were just going to have our employees take care of that, as opposed to putting an entire irrigation system in, for really just two areas.
Okay. And how about the bollards for the interior of the enclosure? To
Yeah,
prevent the trash containers from hitting the masonry walls?
that was an oversight. There'll be bollards there, and also in front of the piers by the garage doors, we'll put bollards there also.
Okay. Like I said, I'll be happy to give my money to Wheeling instead of another village, so I'll be excited.
We'll be happy to take it.
I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have the $3 sign. This is exactly what it would be. So what is shown on the plan, instead of the gray where it says car wash will be gray, but the one oversight on what was shown is that the $3, the number $3 will be in red with this white outline that shows this. So this is exactly what it would, the monument sign lettering would look like. Okay? And if I may add one comment to what Mr. Lieberman said, the treatment of the existing employees that have been with Al for many, many years was of major, major concern. And any reluctance to enter into this agreement concerned the future of these employees. Mr. Lieberman has assured Al and me that the skilled employees, many of whom, all of whom, the ones that have been there for a long time, who are now friends and neighbors, and the customers know them and they know the customers, will be given every opportunity to remain and become employees if they have the detailed skills and are willing to work. And Mr. Lieberman has also, I will embellish what he said, that he'll move them into training in other locations so that when it does open, they'll be ready to hit the ground running. There are, as you might guess, in car wash business, a lot of very transient dryers that are there for a week and they leave, and there for a month and they leave. But some of the employees who have been there many, many years, it's my belief, and I believe Mr. Lieberman's belief, would be very, very valuable to continue there due to their skill, expertise, and their knowledge of the customers. It's only going to be a benefit. So Mr. Schwab is comfortable with that answer because he very, very much wants his employees to be taken care of.
If I could just add something to that. If you've been there for 15 years, you're not just taking a towel and drying a car, okay? The people that do that, they're there for a month or 2 or 3. The skilled employees are the ones that know what they're doing, and those are the employees we want to retain.
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Brien?
I'm done, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Steiler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, the good news is you're going to have a new customer in Wheeling. The bad news is your place on Hicks Road is going to lose one, so.
Is what?
Is going to lose one.
So that's the good news, right? I'm a little being familiar, though, with the Hicks Road location. Occasionally, the facility does break down and closes for whatever reason it needs to close. And the Hicks Road place has pretty good maneuverability over the whole parking lot. I'm not sure this one has as good maneuverability. How will you let customers know that, you know, it's broken, it's not working, so that they don't turn in and then get all jazzed up and trying to turn around?
That's a good question. Okay, fortunately, we put in all brand new equipment. Unfortunately, it could be 3 days old and something jams. Happens, okay? Usually, we're able to get running in about 15 to 20 minutes, okay? Usually. We actually employ a full-time mechanical engineer because of our we have 5 stores, who's on call literally from 8 o'clock to 8 p.m., 365 days a year. They can pretty much, if we break down, he gets us running within 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But occasionally a conveyor will jam. Sometimes a customer's driving out, and instead of waiting for the sign to go, they go forward and they drive over a roller as it's going into a door and it jams, and we have to unjam it, and that takes about 10, 15 minutes. That does happen from time to time, but if we're down, we're losing money. So we actually, I pride myself on the fact where other car washes will be shut down for days, we're open in a matter of minutes, and that really is true. I mean, I can tell you stories how a transmission's gone bad on an Easter Sunday about 5 o'clock, and I call somebody in Florida who goes to, picks out a piece, takes it to the airport, overnights it. I pick it up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're running by 8 o'clock Monday morning, where the place would be shut down for 4 days. But sometimes there's nothing you can do when you shut down for a small period. You mentioned the Lake Cook facility. I'm glad you're familiar with it, Councilman. This facility will actually has more room and more depth going back, which actually gives us a greater maneuverability than we actually have in Lake Cook. If you've gone through Lake Cook, like you said, there's the 2 kiosks. We only have room for 4 or 5 cars from there to the entrance of the tunnel. If you take a look at the plan up here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we have 8, 9 cars, so we have more room for maneuverability than because the property is going farther back and it's deeper. It's a very similar situation, but if and when a tunnel breaks down, we just divert the cars out until we're up and running. We put pylon cones in front of the kiosk that were closed, and we put the person who's normally in the kiosk goes out in the front and says, we're temporarily closed, hopefully we'll be open in an hour, nothing else we can do. I hope I addressed your question.
Let me add to that also. Councilman,
Promotion.
congratulations on your promotion. Thank
Oh, I didn't
you.
know
He's
that.
commissioner.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, he likes being called that.
He knows of your ambitions.
Yes.
We have had no indication whatsoever that I would guess the courtesy and handshake agreement with Pete Miller's is going to be terminated anytime soon. It is informal, but it's been that way. Al, how many years have you had that? Okay, so we don't see that happening, so if there was an emergency to get out, right now we would have 3 points of egress. We have Mayor Avenue, we have through the Pete Miller's lot, and then we have directly on to Milwaukee Avenue.
Okay. Driving all the way from here out to Hicks Road takes a while, right? And it's a little disappointing.
Why do you
to get out
drive
there.
all the way there for a car wash? You must like it, I hope.
Yeah, exactly, yes. It's very convenient. So it'll be nice to only have to drive a few minutes to the new place. One thing that I would like you to do, however, the driveways that along Milwaukee Avenue occupy a large amount of pavement, and it's very difficult, in my opinion, to sometimes determine that there's a sidewalk there or not, or exactly where the sidewalk is. Would it be possible to put, some kind of a white stripe or something, just so cars know whereabouts to stop for sidewalks, whatever?
Sure.
We can use some sort of some sort of striping, whether it be red or white, delineating the sidewalk from the end of the car wash,
Driveway.
the drive apron. Yes, happy to do that. It's a good suggestion.
I'd like to see that. And then one additional question. The staff reports seem to say that the lettering size of the sign on the building could not be determined, and therefore you couldn't compute the size of the sign. So, Andrew, does that need to be determined when they come back with?
Yeah, I've written that into, while we've been talking, I've typed up a couple of conditions, and that's written as something that would be addressed if the signs are to be tabled. The additional sign, the detail bay sign, the wash exit sign, we need to just confirm that once you add all of them up, we're still under the maximum for the building.
Okay.
And then the other question for staff is that they're no longer going to use their truck variation. And if I understand variations, they tend to stay with the property in perpetuity. Is it possible to undo a variation?
The truck rental is a special use that in a sense has become non-conforming by changes of the zoning code. The special use can be repealed and would be repealed if this is adopted by the board. Part of what we would be adopting would be repealing the existing special use ordinance. So it would lose its legal non-conforming status at that point.
But would they still have an approved variation, even though they didn't have the special use?
Which variation are you referring to?
If I can go back to, I think it's the first page in the staff report that lists all the current ordinances.
There may be a need to repeal something else, if that's the case.
It was on page 2 of your staff report.
don't, as far as I know, the only legislation related to the truck was the special use, which has become legal and non-conforming due to the changes in the zoning code, and it'll be repealed.
So
Okay.
so 1982, 19B is the special use for automobile rental.
Right, which was later under something, I don't have the number in front of me, it was converted to the truck, which is no longer allowed in the zoning
The
district.
truck was an addition to the automobile. We don't need, nor do we have any opposition to repealing both the automobile and the truck rental part of the special use.
That's my only concern. Welcome to Wheeling, I hope. And Andrew, if you would add a condition about that sidewalk stripe or something. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. When they come back with signs, Andrew, is that when we'll get landscaping details that were
The
requested then?
landscape, I believe the landscape question is the, what is listed on the landscape plan, I can't see it at this scale, is decorative grass, and there was another one that was vague. 80% of the plants are listed specifically. There are a few plants that are listed in sort of a vague reference, and what the condition of approval for the sign calls out is that the petitioner identifies species of decorative grasses and any other vaguely labeled plants on the sign landscape plan. Is there one on the overall landscape plan that's also vague? If you go beyond the sign area,
I did not.
I can zoom in on it. Ornamental tree. And if you have an idea of what that ornamental tree would be, we can certainly add it.
We can do that. We were just going to, when we got to that point, obviously take plants and trees that are on your approved list. And we have no particular desire which way it goes. We're trying to.
Can the landscape be tied, is the landscape part of the site plan, or is it part of the sign?
The majority of the landscaping that's shown is directly adjacent to the sign. So I had noted this condition of approval as part of the SCBA docket. If you zoom in, there is a, give me 1 second to get to it real quick here. If you zoom in on the landscape plan,
It's got percentages,
We've got-
it's got some percentages and some numbers.
right, the area, the new area to the north lists the cotoneaster mixed with seasonal grasses. So some idea of what that seasonal grass is would be required. The other ones, let's see, flowering perennials, daylilies, black-eyed Susans, hostas, mixing those together at the discretion of the commission. I think we can work with that.
The other day, I got the staff report.
Right,
Just
it
find the
just
other
says
note.
seasonal grass, it doesn't say what kind. So.
Yeah, the ornamental tree. The ornamental tree near the new entry door, just identifying, are we talking about a crabapple? Are we talking about some other sort of flowering ornamental?
So my question to the commission is this, and it's out of ignorance, it's not trying to ask for anything to which we wouldn't be entitled. Is that type of detail one that is ultimately decided by the commission, or is that often left to staff to determine what kind of ornamental tree or what kind of seasonal grasses? I'm just simply making the inquiry.
It's commission,
It is the commission.
right? And in some cases, we have led that to staff, but what we'll do is, at the end of the questions, we'll take a poll to see what direction
That'd be fine.
we want to take that.
Thank you.
Sure.
And to be clear, I think we're down to, at this point, one ornamental tree that is near the entrance, and then the seasonal grass that's mixed in with other plants that are
Exactly.
local. So there are.
Yeah, we're close.
We're close. Yeah, it's not, it's not giant, but, right, so
Okay,
continue on,
enough on the grasses.
Councilman.
The fire department report indicated that the new addition has to be sprinklered. Is the existing building sprinklered right now?
Actually, the fire department report says that the entire building has to be sprinklered.
Right.
Because of the retrofit, and the existing building is not sprinklered.
It is not,
currently.
okay.
Correct.
So then that all has to be done. And my last question, you referred to new handicap accessible bathrooms, but I don't see those on the floor plan.
Yeah, the lobby detail and that floor plan has not been finished yet. There are existing bathrooms right now, but I do not believe, once we get into our architectural plans, they're going to meet code. So they will be brought up to code for handicap accessibility.
Okay.
And if that were to be made a condition of approval, that they be handicap accessible, we have no problem. And
Well, I think that's,
I think it goes without saying anyway.
Yeah,
It's a public building.
that's code, so.
Okay,
Everything else I had was answered, so
thank
I
you.
am done.
Thank you. Do you have a car wash that's similar to what you're going to be building here in your existing one?
We have 5 of them.
Yeah, but similar to the size of this one, because the one on Hicks Road seems to be smaller. I don't think you have 10
Oh,
bays.
okay, I understand, okay.
You know-
Are you talking about the square footage of building, or are you talking about the square footage of the land?
Well, no, the building and the use, because, for the one on Hicks Road, I don't think has 10 bays. Do you have a car wash that supports the volume that you're going to have here?
Yes, we do. In fact, the Hicks Road one was one that was built, not by us.
Right.
I think it was open 18 months and went in bankrupt, and we bought it out of bankruptcy from the bank that the other people defaulted on. And so if we were doing that to begin with, we would have done a much more workable, better plan. We had to work with what we had that was left of us, and it still works. If you talk to, like I said, 2 of your members, it works pretty good. Most of our locations are much bigger properties, where we, one of our properties in Oak Lawn, we have 16 detail bays. Okay, instead of 10. One that we have in Algonquin, we have 10 detail bays. That's our store in Algonquin. One we have in Lombard, we have 8 detail bays. So we put in as many as we can and still be able to have the flow and the traffic that we can. Lake Cook was the exception. In fact, what we did there, I don't know if the 2 members who are commissioners.
Don't worry about
Pardon me, my ignorance.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay, commissioners who use it, if they're familiar, there was originally 3 bays of detail bays, and that's all they had. And then he had a giant area where they thought people wanted to spend 3 hours doing a coffee and being on the internet and serving food and lattes and whatever. We ripped all that out, and we made that a 4-bay detail bay along the side of the building, bringing Lake Cook even up to 7 bays, because we can put 4 cars into one and then 3 along the side. So we actually ripped that all out and built a new bay so we can do 7 at Lake Cook. So 10 is what we'd like to do. Okay, some of them have more, but the minimum that I have is the 7 that I have at Lake Cook, because that's a smaller piece of property. The property itself is smaller, and the building was already built, and there was nowhere to expand it. So we do with it the best we can.
Sure. Okay, great. What are your peak hours?
What are our peak hours? Our peak hours depends on Mother Nature. Obviously, if it's raining, we're closed. If it's snowing, we're closed. If the streets are wet, we're closed, okay? The peak hours is if it snows on a Monday or Tuesday, and it's been cold like it was all winter long, and then on Saturday the sun comes out, the streets are all dry but salted, and it's 35 degrees, those will be our peak times. As far as hours themselves, probably the peak hours are between somewhere around 10 o'clock in the morning to about 4 in the afternoon. There's a 6-hour period, whether it's our busiest day or whether it's a normal day, about 10 to 4 p.m. is our peak hours. From 8 to 10 things are slow getting started, and then after 4 o'clock it starts to die down.
And the reason I was asking is, enough room with cars, and I've I've seen one of your competitors on Dundee Road, just west of 53, where it's the car stacking is just terrible there, and
I couldn't agree with you more.
and I just want to make sure that we don't have that issue here. I know you have 24, no, you don't have 24 cars, you have about 18 cars before you get to the single, and then I think you had number 24. So, I mean, is there a concern about backing up onto Milwaukee Avenue at any point in time? Based upon
Staff's concern with this, and this relates to the waiver of the covenant, which we haven't really gotten into much.
Yeah, we
but,
haven't gotten into it.
The staff concern on this was that if this were to be closed and you have either an issue of a breakdown of the equipment, or somebody decides that right when they get to the kiosk, they don't want to wait, just ensuring that there's a way for that particular customer, or they're at the rear vacuum area, ensuring that those customers who do choose to exit have a way out without going back to the front area, relates to this covenant. The covenant states that if either the truck rental or the car wash are closed and cease operation, that this driveway this driveway to Mayor be closed. With the one-way street and the fact that this area is up against a fairly busy highway-style thoroughfare now, it seems to make sense to give people a out that doesn't put them right next to the front of the wash. So the petitioner's requesting this covenant be waived by the board. The covenant does include language allowing the village board to waive that requirement. So that's the purpose of this. I don't know if it was terribly clear in the staff report, but that is what is being referred to there.
Okay.
And Commissioner, finally, the Delta Sonic, I think you're talking about, car wash, hand drying on aprons. It's an entirely different type operation. Being here, oftentimes, once in a while, when as it operates today, we could have 4 cars pulling out at the same time. And your biggest issue is which car next to you is going to go first. But there are usually wide gaps, especially from 10 to 4 on Milwaukee Avenue, to be able to make ingress or egress.
But the backup at that car wash is not because of the hand washing or any of the post washing. It's getting in to get actually your car washed.
Right.
And if that's the backup, and that's what.
That's a good point.
That's my concern, yeah, because most of the cars move very quickly there to other places when they do their detailing or they do their drying and their cleaning. They have stations. Those are never backed up. It's when they've got a double roll and it backs up onto that street. I can't think of the name of that street, and it causes havoc on trying to turn in off of eastbound or westbound on Dundee Road. It causes trouble there.
Right. We have shown only in fact, not even all the way to the opening onto Mayor. If we were to do the double lanes all the way back to Milwaukee, it's probably 45 to 50 cars that you could queue on this site. Because right now, just where it is only 24.
Okay.
Jim, I think my concern about what happens when something goes wrong is kind of in line
Exactly. Right.
with yours, because again, at the Hicks Road location, the site is very visible. You can see down into the site. If something's wrong, you can tell right away that it's closed. This site is kind of self-contained, and even though you have 12 or whatever cars in line, you may not see something that's going wrong until you turn in, because
That's why we
just
have
the nature of the business. But if you have somebody out in front or some pylon signs or something that may say closed now or whatever.
Well, they have a reader board too.
But you're not, It's not an
Yeah.
electric reader board, is it?
Yes.
Oh, it is? So
Yes.
you'll be able to say closed,
In a
oh, that'll be
heartbeat.
perfect.
And in addition, just as a matter of fact, Mr. Lieberman reminded me, the speed through this car wash tunnel is twice as fast as Delta Sonics. So even though the line might look long, it is a much faster, based on the modernity of the equipment, it really does go through much faster.
That's cool. How, your signage, not your wall signage, which I'll get to in a second. So when somebody comes through in a car wash and they're getting detailed, okay? When they're coming out, how do they know to go right? And, you know, I would assume there's no curbs there, but is there going to be signage somewhere, somebody directing them that to go this way to the detail area and wait there? Will there be a person? Now, you said you have 10 bays, 3 are for quick detailing, and the other 7 are for the more, you know, more intensive ones. So will they know where to go when they come out? And because you said the only time they get out of the car when they go into the bay for detailing, then they get out of the car, so you're directing them someplace. What's that signage like to get them there?
Okay, first, let me correct something that you actually had a little backwards. 3 of the bays are for long-term detailing, and 7 of them are for the quick 10 or 15-minute full serve,
Sure.
not the other way around.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, it's important because you need to have those open bays for when a customer wants to have a full serve. Generally, we only have 1, 2, on a very busy day, 3 full details sitting in a bay, occupying space for about 2 hours. Okay, so the other 7 or 8 are open. Now, to answer your question, how do customers know where to go? They have to, every car go through the kiosk where there's an attendant. They either buy their 3, 6, 9, 12 or full serve $22 wash, where we have a menu sign that's lit with the choices of what they have. And when they pick a $22 full serve, the attendant then instructs them that they go through the tunnel, they exit the tunnel, they drive around. If you put the slide up to where it says full detail center, there you go, full service detail center, and at the kiosk, they're directed that when they exit the tunnel, they go right around the building and pull right into the full service detail center to receive their full serve, which takes about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, can we put I think for the sake of clarity, because some customers, especially in my age, might forget what they're told at the beginning by the time they get to the end.
Entirely.
Is a perhaps detailing, and you have an arrow that goes to the right as they come out of the tunnel.
We can certainly do that, but I've never found somebody who's paying $22 for a car wash is going to drive away without their cars being vacuumed and their windows being cleaned and the insides being done.
But
I'd certainly be willing to do that, but I've never encountered that problem.
You know, it was just, and I can talk to the commissioners, you know, it's just something that, because, you know, I know when I've gotten my car detailed, and they actually never tell you where to go, and you sort of have to guess. So if you have your attendants telling people, I guess I would be okay with that. Does anybody have any issues with what we're talking about?
Directional signage that's essentially visible from inside, they can always add it without.
Yeah, that's right, it is directional signage, so okay, cool. But then, so you've got this stacking that is going to cross, at some point in time, it could back up over the exit to Mayor. How are you going to prevent, probably the previous one. There it was. There you go. So you've got this stacking here, and if it goes past this exit, people are just going to have to wait until it clears up before they can get out on the Mayor?
theoretically, what you're saying is correct, but in actuality, what you're saying is incorrect because there isn't that kind of stacking time, and let me explain. Everything is based upon how many cars you can wash per hour based on how many foot a conveyor is. And the rule of thumb in the industry is at least 1 car per hour for every foot of conveyor. To give you an example, Delta Sonic has a 105-foot conveyor, therefore they can wash 105 cars an hour. They can't increase the speed of their motor to send cars through, but that's the standard rule of thumb. We're going to have a 200-foot conveyor, so we'll be able to wash in excess of 200 cars an hour. Now, typically at my stores, I do that by about 1.5 times. I have a 110-foot conveyor, I put out about 200 cars an hour. I have a 170-foot conveyor, I can put out 250 cars an hour. I have a 200-foot conveyor, I can put out 300 cars an hour. Whereas, I think you're thinking of the way Delta Sonic runs, they put out about 110, 115 cars an hour tops. So the speed keeps going. And then what we do it on a busy day is our speed is never constant. On busy days, we simply have a button where we turn up the speed of the conveyor, and instead of it being set at 250, it goes up to 300 or 325, so we're able to move the cars out faster to clear out the lines. Kind of like if you go to a grocery store and there's a line, they open up another booth to get the people through. By turning up the speed of the conveyor, you're able to wash more cars per hour and avoid the congestion.
Interesting. Does that mean does that mean that the wash isn't that good because it's going through faster? Just curious.
And the wash is the same, okay? The drying, instead of it being 98% dry, it might be 96% dry.
Oh, because I did hear 100% dry.
No, that was an over. Mr. Purcell is not in the car wash business. There's no such thing as 100% car dry.
Okay.
In fact, even after you leave the car wash, you'll have drips and whatever.
No, I understand. I completely understand. The point is, and to Commissioner Steilen saying that, sometimes it breaks down. So you're going to get stacking there. I would suggest some type of directional sign right past there that says, please don't block the driveway.
We can,
something like that.
We can do that. The other thing that I was thinking is that if this proves to be an issue, like in front of a fire station, they have striping with white with X's or something on the sidewalk that they don't want you to stay on or park on. So if that's an issue, we would clearly be willing to accommodate
or just a directional
the requirement
sign
or directional signage so that the driveway out onto Mayor does not get blocked.
Okay.
That will not be it won't be a problem whatsoever.
Okay. Then now to the actual signs. You indicated that right there. Okay. So you indicated on the monument sign the $3 is going to be red with white background with white trim, and it's going to be gray car wash. But on the actual building,
Yes, sir.
is that a red background?
Yes.
And the car wash is going to be white? The only
Yes,
thing
sir.
that's changing here is the red in the sign,
Yes.
in the $3?
That is correct.
Okay, so,
The only changes to what is currently on the screen is both the numerical designations of $3 will both be in red.
okay, great.
Other than that, it's identical to what you're looking at.
Okay, great. Are there any questions?
I actually have a worst-case scenario question. You have the 24 cars. You have, like you said, you have, say, 12 people buy the $22 wash. They're not going to forget to leave. Where do you stack the cars for the detail?
That's a very good question. What we do is the cars come along, okay, and let's suppose we have 7 bays open. Now there's 7 bays open. As soon as there's no open bay, we instruct the customer when you pull up and you say you want a full serve wash, that you're going to have a 15-minute wait or a 30-minute wait or up to an hour wait or a 2-hour wait, but we let you make your choice before you purchase the appropriate wash so you're not mad that you're waiting. Kind of like if you go to a restaurant and they tell you it's a 2-hour wait for dinner, you can decide to leave or you can decide to stay. When we fill up, which we do sometimes, we tell customers the wait's 15 minutes, the wait's 30 minutes. And then if they want to wait, they wait. And then we take them. If they don't want to wait, then they eat. And a lot of customers don't want to wait half an hour or 45 minutes. They get an exterior wash and they come back another day for a full serve wash. But we always tell them that there's a wait ahead of time so they can't be angry that they're waiting. And it works no problem.
Well, where do they wait?
Oh, okay. If they want to wait on the premises, they'll either pull by one of the vacuum stalls and occupy a stall. We have 20 vacuum stalls. They'll be waiting in one of the 20 vacuum stalls. Okay. Sometimes we'll have them pull up a car behind a car that's in the detail shop for a minute while we're pulling out a car. But generally, we don't have a problem with traffic flow because we do the waiting and the in and out. And if we're that busy, we actually stop full serves altogether. Because full serve, we like to do full serves, but after an hour, people don't want to wait longer than an hour. So you can only, at a certain point, we have to say, there's no more full serves for at least another hour, hour and a half, and then the people come back. We've had to do that, every now and then, not usually.
Commissioner Powers?
Thank you. This question is for staff. On the second paragraph of page 6 in our packet, it mentions something about shrub removal. Do we not have that issue anymore because we're looking at the taller sign, or should we still be discussing that for one reason or another?
We were putting it out there as a possibility. We've driven by a few times. Shrubs in that location of the right-of-way is certainly unusual. IDOT typically doesn't allow it. They are existing shrubs, though. We wanted to let the petitioner know that the option is there. They've also taken a critical look at the visibility from the north, and they believe that the on-site improvements are actually just probably a touch more obstructive. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there's an on-site landscape bed at the southeast corner of Pete Miller's, and there's the wall that petitioner was referencing earlier. The patio wall for Pete Miller's also provides some obstruction from the north. So although the removal of the shrubs would probably have some positive impact on visibility, their assessment of it was that there are other items that are also obstructing it.
Okay. Just the last question. I love the Lake Cook facility too. I use it, all the time. The question I have is not so much the queuing to go in, but can you refresh my memory? When you exit the car wash on Lake Cook, are there vacuum stations after you get out of there?
Yes, there are. There are at Lake Cook. There are. In fact, I'm glad that all the board members who use the wash are happy with me.
I'll be going here now.
It's making my job easier. But to answer your question, when you exit the wash, there are vacuums immediately across the parking lot that are right there. There are also vacuums when you enter, and there's the 2 stacking lanes. There are vacuums to the left of the first kiosk, just past the detail shop, just like in this particular, we have vacuums here, and then we also have vacuums here. Okay, at Lake Cook, in answer to your question, the exit to the tunnel is right about here.
Yeah.
So we come out here, we have vacuums here. Excuse me, I'm not good with the mouse. Vacuums along this line, and then we have vacuums along the stacking line here going in. Again, 2 separate vacuuming areas. We find that by having 2 separate vacuuming areas, you don't have congestion. Some people like to vacuum on their way in, and some people like to vacuum on their way out. And so we accommodate both of them.
Okay, so my real question is, okay, I know we're concerned about the stacking going in. The double arrows on the exit going out, since it's not 100% dry, which, it's very close, you're going to get people who are going to exit the car wash and they're going to run out, get a rag, and probably, dry off any drips. That may happen. So I guess my question is, how many cars can be stacked where the double arrows are? And is there any potential that could get clogged by people getting out of their car, wiping their car off and you can start having a backup in the car wash?
That's a good question. In fact, right now, that's how the car wash operates. The operating system for it now is when the cars leave the tunnel, there's maybe 6, 8 cars out there being dried on the apron by the dryers at the operator. That's not our system. Is one car comes out of the tunnel at a time and it disperses. No one is allowed to dry off cars at the end of a tunnel because there's a car coming behind them. If some customer wanted to do that, and immediately a staff member would say, you have to move your car, you're blocking the exit to a car wash, you can't be doing that. And to further answer your question, is what's called a software system that detects if there's it's called anti-collision software. So if one car is stopped, another car can't come up behind it and hit it, so the whole tunnel would be shut down.
Okay.
And we would tell that customer, please move your car, you can't dry it off in the middle.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. I think I see Al in the audience. Al, I just want to thank you for all your years in Wheeling. It's been a great pleasure to have you here. I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
And hope you enjoy your retirement.
Yes, it's been a great 31 years to be with the village. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing Al. He's been a good citizen.
A couple of other, does anybody else have any other questions? No. A couple of other things. The staff had some recommendations. I think we've covered most of them. You said you're going to repair the fences. They talk about bollards inside the trash enclosure to protect the building.
Yes, we've agreed to do that.
Okay.
That was an oversight on the plan. We will.
We talked about plant species, clarification of wall sign, we're going to get that, and plant quantities for the monument sign planting. So to the landscape, Commissioner Dorban asked about irrigation, and I believe Andrew, in this site, in a major site plan.
Jim, I can't hear you down here.
I'm sorry, I thought I was talking into that. I thought that irrigation would be required.
Irrigation requirement on a renovation can be subject to the determination of the Planning Commission and the board. What they would look at in a case like this, what the commission would be looking at in a case like this, is the extent of the landscaping that's being added compared to what's existing, the types of plant material that are being proposed. At this point, the petitioner stated that their intention is to not irrigate the new area. And again, the new area that's being added, you have the north corner here. I believe we're referring to decorative grasses and cotoneaster. And then we've got the area directly adjacent to the building, which was junipers, and then the ornamental tree, I believe.
Okay.
So it would be up to the commission at this point to agree to this petitioner's request to not irrigate this area.
So that's the first one, a need for irrigation, Commissioner Dorban?
Well, it seems like you're going through an awful lot of work to do a lot, rebuild all this, and I would like to see it.
You'd like to see irrigation? Commissioner Zangara?
Being a car wash, I think they would have a hose. I'm not too, I don't think so.
Commissioner Johnson?
I don't think so.
Commissioner Stylin?
If they have an outside or spigot available for a hose to go out and occasionally water the flowers, that would be acceptable to me. It is a very small landscape area, but
Do you have?
There will be, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Powers?
I'd like to see it irrigated.
Commissioner Scheff?
I don't see the need for irrigation.
And nor do I. So there's no irrigation as long as you have the spigot out there, that'd be great. Okay, then I think the next question was around the actual landscaping plants, so we can make that as a condition of the sign?
As it is right now, let me see if I can get to the landscape detail. As it is
I can't
right-
hear you, Andrew, at all.
As it is right now, the area here has a grass that's not identified. There's an unidentified grass in this area. It's a little bit difficult to see on that, at that scale. Let me see if I can get to it real quick. There are a couple of items that are not identified. There's grasses in both of those areas. And let's see. The ornamental tree near the new door.
That need to be identified in quantities of those, or quantities for all of the plantings?
As it is, the items that are identified by quantity, you've got 3 low juniper. There are, a handful of varieties of low juniper. I think that the choice of exactly what low juniper, I think that we can work on that. The grasses, though, there's a fairly large range of grasses. Flowering perennials, I think, are identified everywhere you see it. So we've got daylilies, black-eyed Susans. The big item that I think wasn't identified is we have one tree. Crab apples are pretty common. There's a existing flowering crabapple tree, I think, near the sign that they're keeping, so there'd be some logic to doing another one of those. The other flowering crabs are being removed.
Andrew, I don't see where we've left the generic ornamental tree. It says existing ornamental tree to remain in mulch. The only thing that is not specified that I can see is the seasonal grasses in mulch.
The ornamental tree that's proposed next to the door is not labeled. The existing one, I think.
You can, one ornamental tree, 2-inch minimum caliber in mulch. You're correct.
So all that to say, the Plan Commission certainly has the discretion to suggest the tree at this point. If the idea is to match with a similar crabapple, you could certainly say that. You could add it, the Plan Commission at its discretion, if we're talking about identifying the type of grass and the tree, if it's the consensus of the commission, those could be added to the plan prior to the board review. You have several options.
So basically, make the decision here or have them come back with a more detailed plan?
That's another option. You can have them come back with a plan, have it added to the plan before the board sees it.
Right.
Or go ahead and just determine that it's either going to be the common grasses or the forester grass.
Let's cut it down to 2, so, not 3. So, add the desired plant types before it goes to the board, or have the petitioner come back with a plan for the completing the landscape plan. So,
Mr. Chairman, we will agree that the ornamental tree will be a crabapple, because it's nice to have matching trees. So we would be more than willing to have the unidentified ornamental tree be a crabapple tree, which would leave only the decision on what type of grasses.
and again, and that's why I said either we add those things before we go to the board, or we have a full plan come back. That's still the same thing.
Of course.
Right.
We
So,
understand.
Commissioner Dorban,
Okay, so we're,
2 things.
okay.
One, we make the decision and we add the additional plantings to the packet that goes to the board, or we have the petitioner come back with a landscape plan with all of that for review for us before it goes to the board.
Well, I've always believed that we should tie up this package before we send it, so I'd like to have it come back.
Okay. Commissioner Zangara?
I would like to, when they call it the grasses, as long as it was a stamped plan before it went to the board, I'd be okay with letting them go ahead.
So 1 for coming back and 1 for the board. Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
I would agree with Commissioner Zangara. As long as it's spelled out on the plan going to the
Okay.
board, that would be fine.
Commissioner Stylen?
I'd like to see the official plan before it goes to the board.
Okay. Commissioner Powers?
Same thing, need to see it before it goes to the board.
And Commissioner Schaaf?
I agree. I would like to see it before it goes to the board.
Okay. And I would have been okay with the board, but, so that's got to come back before us.
Okay.
So with that said, how can that be separated from the site plan approval? Or does that have to be?
Well, there are a couple of options, as it turns
Okay.
out. The Plan Commission, if the amendment to the special use, if the Plan Commission would like to see the species prior to making a
Yep.
recommendation.
On a landscape plan, that's what,
Sure, you could separate the landscape plan out. The landscape plan could be, the final details of the landscape plan could be to be determined, and they could come back
right.
with what is left on it. Would be a relatively minor review, would be
Right.
possible to just do that as a separate review.
Has everybody heard that?
Like we did for Salata.
Right, yeah.
We're just going to separate it out.
Right, separate it out so they can move forward, go to the board. Is everybody in agreement with that? Can I see a couple of nods?
That'll be fine.
Well, we've got one question here. Commissioner Stylen?
Well, I guess the problem we always get into when we do something like this, if we're going to approve the site plan, we're going to approve the sign and tell them sometime in the future you need to come back with a landscaping plan.
No,
And-
well-
And if they don't do it, there's no big loss, so.
Right, can we
Can we
tie
tie
it to the sign?
You could bring it to the side. They are physically
Right.
close to each other, and most of the landscaping is
So
on this side.
we're going to tie the landscaping to the sign. So when we come back for the sign, be prepared for the landscape plan.
My question is, and I understand fully, when we could come back as early as next week, because we would be adding the color to the sign, and we would be adding the actual type of grasses and the actual tree, which are both all very minor. When will your next plan commission be, and can we get on that agenda?
Unfortunately, not unfortunately, our next meeting is not until June 12th. We don't, next Thursday is the 5th Thursday. We don't meet on the 5th Thursday, and we don't meet on the 1st Thursday. So it just so happens that May is that way. But we're not tying it to the site plan approval. Can that go to?
The site plan, so the way I'm writing it right now, the Plan Commission is prepared to table the sign, which would be the sign itself, the final design of the sign would come back to the Plan Commission. The detail of the specific grass and tree, there's an expectation that would be available during the sign review. The vague label of ornamental tree and decorative grass would go on to the board if it's the consensus of the commission to send on the landscape plan that you have right now.
Okay. So would we then be able to proceed, if there's room on the board agenda on June 2nd, to go to the board subject to the coming back to the Plan Commission for those, the
Yes.
sign and the landscape approvals?
Yes, if that's the
That's what we're
consensus of the
trying to do.
commission.
Thank you. We
That's what we're
appreciate
trying to
that
do.
very much.
And we could even make it a consent item, because there's
We
really
could,
nothing.
depending upon what it is, right. Yep. Yes, so
Thank
is
you.
everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Then the last thing that we have not discussed is the covenant. Is the commissioner
The what?
aware of the covenant that
Oh.
we're going to, what do we do with that? Vacate it, negate it?
It's really more for the board at this point. The board,
that's
the
right.
village board has the authority. The petitioner is requesting it as this is the recommending body for that request. We're just being, the staff wanted to be totally clear that this request means that the covenant restriction would be waived. The village board ultimately has the authority to do that. If there are any issues related to that, this would be a good time to get them on the record.
Right.
So that the village board can review that record.
Commissioner Steinle.
Andrew, what are the exact terms of the covenant today?
The terms of the covenant are that the existing drive, this drive, which connects to Mayor, would be closed if either of the two uses, the truck rental or the car wash, if either one ceases to operate, that would close.
That's not accurate, sir.
Sorry, go on.
This is from one of the very first special uses. It's a minor correction.
Sure.
It's that if either the automobile rental, not truck rental, or car wash closes, then then you would not be able to use Mayor. My belief is, I think they meant if either or, but it doesn't say that. It says, I believe they meant to say and. If you don't have a car wash and an automobile rental, you can't use Mayor. We would like to see it an or rather than an and. So because we are not going to have automobiles, because we've been requested not to have future rentals there, we are requesting the board to waive the closure of that because we're not renting cars.
And the opinion of the staff on this is that it actually could create a potentially hazardous situation to close that drive. It forces the vehicles back out.
I agree. I mean, I think especially with the way that car washes operate with the heavy queuing, that you need that emergency exit, if you will. And I have no qualms removing that covenant, except someday if the car wash goes away, do we really need to have that exit capability for whatever business, a furniture store, whatever it might turn into in the future? Do we still need that exit onto Mirror? I'm not sure that we do, so I'd like to see the covenant
It already says
solely
that.
stating car wash and nothing to do with automobile or truck or anything else.
That's correct. It specifically limits the use of Mayor if you have a car wash and auto rental. That's what it says today. If you have any other use, you can't use Mayor. What we would like to say is as long as it's used as a car wash.
Exactly.
Not and auto rental, a car wash, you can use Mayor. Any other use, you can't. And the recommendation of staff for these safety reasons, we would like to have the board eliminate the requirement that we have an automobile rental in order for us to keep the Mayor Avenue exit open for a car wash.
That's what I would recommend too, I think.
Is that something we vote on as a commission?
Just to have the record of that this is part of the request,
Right.
so that when it goes to the board, that's part of the minutes.
Okay, so it's part of the minutes. Okay, great. Are there any other questions? So Andrew, let's table is it a table for the appearance approval?
The table of the appearance approval of the signs, SCBA 1411, what it's written as right now, the conditions to address for tabling, and we will provide you a printed copy of this. The width of the additional wall signs shall be provided to confirm that the signs comply with the sign code. Number 2, that the letters for $3 on each of the signs are to be red, outlined in white. Number 3, petitioner identify the species of decorative grasses and any other vaguely labeled plant on the sign landscape plan. The motion to the table would be for the purpose of addressing those 3 items.
So we have that motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Schaaf, second by Commissioner Steinle. Mr. Secretary.
Okay, this is a motion to table SCBA 14-11.
Right.
And it was made by?
Commissioner Schaaf, seconded by Commissioner Powers.
Style.
Steinle. Sorry.
Commissioner Schaaf,
Yes.
Commissioner Steilen,
Yes.
Commissioner Doorband,
Yes?
Commissioner Johnson, I say yes. Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara,
Yes.
and Chairman Rafado.
Yes. PC 14-7, site plan appearance approval for an amendment to an existing car wash special use. Mr. Jennings? Are there any?
Maybe 1 second, I've apparently killed the computer.
Oh, way to go. Reboot. Technology.
Give me 1 second, there we go.
I used to do it by hand when I was a secretary.
That's all we had back then.
I know, that's true. We didn't have any of this technology.
All right, the conditions for the major site plan and appearance approval. Number 1, the wooden fence along the south and west property lines is to be repaired as needed to ensure that it stands straight. Number 2, that the truck rental operation is to cease, truck rental is to cease operation within 30 days of the property transaction transferring ownership to the petitioner. Number 3, and we can discuss all of these. If there are any questions on them, feel free. Number 3, that the ordinance to repeal and replace ordinances 1926, 2982, and 3540 include a provision that explicitly waives the covenant requirement to close Mayor Avenue driveway, Mayor Avenue driveway if the truck rental or car wash cease operation. We can admit that to automobile rental. That makes you happy.
Just citing what the covenant says, sorry.
Number 4, that the lot is to be repaved. Number 5, that a bike rack is added near the employee parking area. Number 6, the east elevation overhead door will be transparent glass with aluminum frame to match the south elevation doors. We are at 7. Number 7, that a stripe is added along the west edge of the sidewalk to visually separate the driveway from the sidewalk. Number 8, that bollards are added inside the trash enclosure to protect the building. And number 9, that the specific grass and ornamental tree must be identified on the revised sign landscaping plan.
Do we need the last one since it's already part of the other ordinance?
We'll knock it out, probably in between the 2 meetings.
Okay.
Knock it out.
The one topic, though, that was not discussed, and Commissioner Powers asked about it, was a fence on the west side.
Yes, that was the first thing you said.
Was it? No,
The
you
wooden
said
fence along the south and west property lines be repaired as needed.
I think we would be okay or replaced because there is no fence on the west side, so there's nothing to
Right.
repair. There used to be a fence on the west side.
So I think you were looking for a fence on the west side, so yes, to match existing.
Repaired and or replaced.
Right.
And was there one about blocking that driveway?
Those are directional signs.
But was that in the conditions?
No,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
it was about blocking Mayor, a sign
exit.
that says, please don't block the exit.
Was there a consensus on that being necessary?
I said it.
Then there must be consensus.
There was I proposed putting a sign, please do not block the driveway. Any feeling on that, Commissioner Schaaf?
That'll be fine.
Commissioner Powers?
Yeah.
Commissioner Stalin?
A sign or striping.
Sign or striping, okay.
Yeah, something.
Yes, okay, sign or striping in that area, great. Is that it?
As soon as I type that one up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones. No, it's not an easy one.
And for the 10th condition, signage or striping is added to prevent vehicles from blocking the Mayor Avenue driveway.
Great.
And the first condition is amended, as we just discussed, that the fence along the south and west property lines be repaired or replaced as needed.
Call a break.
Right.
Okay, great. So I have a motion.
Was it made?
Hasn't been made?
No, it has not been made.
All right.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Stylin. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Johnson votes yes. Commissioner Stylin?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
And Chairman Rafato.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much for all your time this evening.
You will have something to sign,
Thank you.
okay? And we are going to take a 5-minute break. Oh, good. Good luck.
built a wall around her.
Sorry, if I started without Calling dockets number 2013-12B and PC 14-4, Northgate Crossings, 100 and 250 Northgate Parkway. Special use site plan approval of a multifamily final planned unit development, PUD, and PC 14-4 preliminary plat of survey. Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The petitioners are here for the final PUD and preliminary plat that you just listed. The final PUD is a confirmation of the preliminary PUD plan. There are several layers of detail that are added to the final PUD. The engineering is refined. In this case, the petitioner has elected to submit a draft of the final engineering due to the revisions that were made to the preliminary. It became more efficient for them to provide a draft of the final. We have, at this stage, the full list of variations associated with this PUD, including variations to Title 19 zoning as well as Title 17, which is the planning and subdivision code. The petitioner is also requesting some consideration by the village board related to water metering, which does not relate to any of the titles that the Plan Commission reviews. At this point, the petitioner is in front of you for the additional details such as lighting, which were not provided at the preliminary, final landscaping as opposed to preliminary landscaping. The elevations are essentially unchanged from the original. Petitioner has also included specific construction detail for the wall and floor assembly to be clear as to what's being proposed for this site. We have the staff of the fire department and the village engineers here as well to answer questions related to their specific reviews. What I'd like to do at this point is open it to the petitioner to go through the plan. What we have in the slides is a very basic overview. If there are very specific questions related to the plans, we can open the staff report on the larger monitor.
Good evening. If you could just give your names again into the microphone so we know who you are.
Matt Nix with Riva Development Partners.
Okay.
Warren James, also with Riva Development Partners.
Okay, great. So if you can explain what you have here, and then we can go from there.
So as a review, Northgate Crossings consists of approximately 20 acres, 2 parcels of land, and we're proposing 288 total residential units within 9 buildings. Those are 3-story elevator-served buildings, along with a clubhouse that serves as the amenity. On this picture in front of you is a rendering of the front elevation of the typical building type and the left elevation. You'll note that there are 10 garages. Those garages will be individually leased to tenants on a first-come, first-served basis, providing the covered parking. There are, let me go to the, there are 32 units in each building. There are 10 2-bedrooms and 22 1-bedroom units within each of the buildings. The elevations shown here are in the color scheme that's closest to me. And as you can see in more detail, the red tone brick with the, Matt, I don't know if you can read this up.
Got the
Monterey taupe. Shake.
If you could grab that microphone right there, that'd be great, thank you.
The button on the bottom, if it's not on already.
Nope, that's not on.
Is it on now? Yeah.
There it is.
There you go.
Monterey taupe shake, the upper level, and the cobblestone siding, hardy siding material.
Before you on the screen now are renderings of the final elevations for the clubhouse. The front elevation with the gable entry over the front door, and on the far left corner is the media room, and the leasing facility is shown on the 3 windows on the right-hand side. The right side elevation, which faces to the north, includes windows to the leasing area shown here, and this is more of the service area associated with the maintenance side of the house. Again, to give you a little flavor of the site plan, as you recall, 9 buildings arranged around the central green. We've incorporated the fire lane as requested in the preliminary review. We also have an emergency access point connection near the existing lift station in the northeast corner of the parcel. Clubhouse is located centrally to the 9 buildings, and given the modification, the site plan incorporation of the fire lane, we have detached the pool building, which is now on the south side of the pool shown here. South side of the plan, again, you can pick up the very far corner of the pool building there. There is a large retention pond that serves for all the retention and detention facilities. I would note that we increased the volume of this from the preliminary plan pursuant to the request from the village. We are accommodating greater than 1-to-1 compensatory storage for the floodplain that's being filled, and otherwise accommodating all of our normal stormwater detention on site. We are also including in our request a reduced request from the village to provide off-site compensatory storage, as previously discussed with the village staff and trustees. That request is less than, let's say, I'm going to try and explain this more specifically. The underlying requirements are 1-to-1 compensatory storage. We meet that on site. The Village of Wheeling has increased the underlying requirement from 1-to-1 to 1.5-to-1. It is that 0.49 increase that we are asking for to be provided from the village's detention facility, which has previously been discussed. So, to continue the review, the detention is provided here. We also have a third entrance that will serve these 2 buildings, and this is these 2 buildings are located on what is presently the Presbyterian Church. One of the other items that we've addressed in the review is the lighting. We have prepared and submitted a lighting plan for the community that meets the low-intensity lighting standards as set forth in the village ordinance. There was some consideration and direction to address the moderate or medium-intensity lighting standards, and we respectfully suggest that the medium intensity, which also includes retail parking lots, hospital parking lot, it includes a residential parking lot, but we believe that that might have been more intended for a structured parking garage, and thus to illuminate our surface parking lots the same way a retail parking lot would be illuminated would incite complaints from our customers. So we've adhered to the code requirements for the low-intensity lighting, and we're seeking clarification and/or relief in that provision. We're also specifying newer technology in lighting using LED lights, more efficient, and candidly provide a better quality of light. Some of the other details, we also have proposed using some downlights mounted to the walls in specific locations where the proximity of the buildings, the ends of the buildings, are proximate to parking, and this affords a better way to provide the same illumination. It is, the light fixture is also an LED light fixture. Again, it's a downward-facing light, and it's consistent with the character and the quality of the lights provided by the poles. The more decorative light fixtures are shown here. These are mounted over the garages and outside the balconies. Any of the garage lights would be on an automatic timer such that they go on at dusk, off at dawn, not controlled by the individual unit owner. Balcony lights would be controlled inside the unit. And again, rather than rehash our entire proposal, we're happy to address any specific questions you might have at this time.
And if I could just, as I mentioned a minute ago, the Plan Commission packet does have the full series of exhibits that are associated with the motion. In this case, we do have access to that. I have a copy of it on the laptop that's connected to the screen. So if you have questions about specific areas, actually, what I'd like to do, if you could, before we go to the commission, is see if there's any comments from the staff.
I was going to do that. Staff? Engineering?
Just to clarify, when we were back here for preliminary, there were some discussions about the type of construction involved in this particular building. The type of construction being proposed by the petitioner meet the village code requirements for type 3A construction, and we have addressed that with the petitioner to a mutual agreement. We have also reached agreement on fire lane access points and fire hydrant locations. And the petitioner has also addressed some of the landscaping concerns we had, which were creating obstructions to fire department connections, hydrant placement, and light fixture placement, and those issues have been addressed. All that remains right now are some minor items that will be addressed during the actual construction document review phase. But as presented, the site plan meets with the approval of the fire department.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Tech? Anything? I don't think I have any comments. Great. Okay. Thank you. So, all right, go to the commission.
That's fine. If I could just one quick note, sure. The list of relief associated with the request is included in the motion. So there's the motion with the exhibits, the list of relief. Some of those are more common items reviewed by the Plan Commission, some are not. The one in particular, I think, two in particular, I think that are a little bit unusual. While we have all the staff here, I just wanted to go through those. The covered parking was previously discussed. The total parking is a variation of one stall. The principal buildings in a planned development is common to have multiple buildings on one zoning lot. The minimum illumination level, which was just discussed by the petitioner, is number 4. The proposed detention area is number 5, is somewhat unusual. The village code has a standard setback that's based on the IDOT standard, which is a function of the depth of the pond measured from its high water level to the bottom of the pond, which translates into a minimum setback of, I think, 10 plus a formula of 1.5 to 1. In this case, that turns into a minimum of 32 feet of separation, 32.5 feet of separation. The mitigation that we've discussed with between our staff and petitioner to maintain the character of the development from the street is a landscaped separation, a combination of vegetation, so larger trees and landscape boulders. So just to be clear, that the code relief that's requested would be mitigated not by a guardrail, but by a more natural barrier. I thought we had a 7. Yep, 6. The separation of domestic water supply and fire suppression is a question more for the village board. It's a policy question for the village board. It is within Title 17 by reference, so you are seeing it as part of your review. The staff of both the fire department and the public works department have rationale opposing this particular request. The village board will ultimately be asked to review the petitioner's rationale. If you'd like to hear that on the record at this point, I'm sure the petitioner would be glad to share that with you. Ultimately, it's part of the request going to the board, though. Are there any questions on that relief before we get in?
Any questions on any of the relief before we go into just general questions? I mean, it's it's new to a lot of us, and so please feel free to ask any questions.
I'd like to discuss the lighting variation that they're requesting and where they're requesting I think they were requesting some very low illumination that
Well, we could start with you, Commissioner Stein. Go, yeah.
is far under our normal requirements. And I have a concern that, I think their lowest level was 0.2 whatever micro candles or whatever it is. And, I think our minimum is a lot higher than that. And, I have a concern that the lighting might not be sufficient. Andrew, the petitioner made some statements that our lighting was oriented towards more commercial-oriented parking areas, et cetera. What are your beliefs in that?
We did do some field tests of existing lighting levels. We had no specific detailed light meter available to us, but we did do some field check of a couple of places just to see if there was any particular opinion as to it. Without any specific knowledge, we didn't have any detailed opinion. We just had our own personal field check of it. What the petitioner has said, we have nothing to compare to of a residential development that's been built that provides parking in this form that has been done in any sort of reasonably recent time frame where we actually have a detailed photometric plan. So we have nothing either to refute their claim that the illumination level will be too high, nor do we have something to suggest that it should be higher based on our own field observations. So
then I guess my recommendation would be that we probably ought to go with what our code calls for, and if we indeed find out that it is too bright, we can always turn it down rather than not put in sufficient fixtures and whatever and have to have them build additional facilities. Let's go the way our ordinances call for and then, adjust as necessary if it causes problems to the citizens that occupy the facility. That'd be my suggestion.
If I may take another crack at explaining our request and the rationale behind it.
Sure.
The village ordinance has a table, and that table specifies high, medium, and low-intensity lighting. The placement of a residential parking lot into the medium category is what we're suggesting may not be the appropriate classification for this use. There is no definition in the ordinance for what those words mean. It could be construed as a structured parking garage, but it also includes a retail parking lot. And in similarly situated communities, the lighting standard for a residential street or residential area such as this with surface parking is substantially lower. We would, in fact, the illumination standards that we're designing to here are, even at the low intensity level, are substantially higher than what we are constructing in Vernon Hills with the very similar product. So, and as with respect to the ability to dial up, dial down, there's a relationship between the maximum intensity and the minimum intensity and the average intensity. We don't want to create hot spots and dark spots, otherwise that creates some problems as well. And so we've designed to the standard that we earnestly believe is the most appropriate standard for this type of application. It's not that we're trying to do something that would be inappropriate. We'd ask the village to go back and look at the, how did the village arrive at placing residential parking within the medium-intensity category, what was the original intent of residential parking when it was placed in that category? Was it a structured parking garage associated with an apartment building or underground or self-contained parking, or was it outdoor lighting? Because the subdivision ordinance, which typically governs illumination of streets, is far less than what we're actually proposing.
And if I could just interject, that I was going to say that is the one spot where we do have a comparison, is you can compare it to the typical side street illumination level. So your typical single family, even the multifamily that are on directly along a public street, there is an illumination level spelled out in the code, and this is above that for sure. The low.
What we're proposing is in excess of
I will tell you that the illumination levels, if you want to talk about high spots and low spots in the residential areas, right under the streetlights are visible, but 50, 100 feet down, you wouldn't even know there's any lights available. So don't go comparing this that has parking stalls every 5 feet, to a residential area that doesn't have hardly any parking on the street and not very much use. So I think this is a much more intense parking use than any residential street. And I'll just go back and say, I believe we ought to go with what we feel our standards are today and the code calls for, and we can always adjust it in the future. And
you continue on.
If you want to continue on lighting, I mean, I have a whole bunch of other things.
No, continue on with your questions, general questions.
I was a little bit disappointed not to see certain things on the final plan when it gets this far. There do not appear to be any amenities other than the pool and the clubhouse shown on the plan. No gazebos, no places for barbecued grills, benches, along the long interior walkways for people or children to sit down, no play areas. I'm sure that there's the potential that we will have some children at this particular spot. One of the conditional items originally called for, a sports area or something in the property in the detention basin to the south. I think it's by lots or buildings 8 and 9. In your report, it says that was completed, but on the site plan, I see no real designation other than potential future recreational site. I'd rather see some recreational site that's planned for there. What kind of amenities are you going to offer?
Oh, yes, clearly in the clubhouse, we do have a tremendous amenity package within the clubhouse. There's an outdoor swimming pool, there's a media room, there's a great room with a facility to serve prepared foods from. Outdoor, on the backside, you can see there's a covered outdoor fireplace leading to a patio area. There's a tremendous exercise facility in the clubhouse that is adjacent to the pool. And there's also a bocce area beyond that. And I think what you were referencing was in the south area of the site. We had originally prepared or contemplated putting a volleyball pit and a dog walking area in the southern section. Let me go back to the site plan.
It's a ways up.
It's shown on the overall site plan.
Okay, so right, get to it. So we had originally contemplated building facilities down here at the south end of the site. Because of the request to increase our detention capacity, we had to provide additional detention, another detention basin here. So in the dry times, we expect people will be able to walk their dogs down here, and there is still some room in this area for volleyball. But again, the precedence of use for this area was detention.
Well, again, I mean, I would expect to see a bunch of other amenities on site. You have a nice walking path around the entire property. I believe there is a sidewalk on to the west of all the parking areas. Is that not correct? It's hard to tell if that's a walking path or not. I see sidewalks on the east side of the parking, but it appears to be a walking path on the west side of the parking area. Is that true?
Yeah, I might just add, as it relates to the amenities, really the focal point of the project is the clubhouse and the adjacent outdoor space, which will rival virtually any multifamily community in the entire area.
And I'll agree with you in its entirety, right? Yes, but you also put a nice walking path around the entire property. You can walk from any place to any place on this site. It would be nice to have some benches occasionally or some other amenities around, a gazebo or something for the outlying areas that people might be able to make use of. Again, I'm disappointed that it's not there. I would like to see it there. Buildings 8 and 9, for some reason you didn't put sidewalks on the south side of those buildings. It would have been nice to continue that walking path that goes around the facility to go down around the south sides of those buildings as well. And I don't see that.
There are site grading constraints.
Pardon me?
There are site grading constraints.
Okay.
We are. Let me please answer the question.
I don't care that there are constraints.
Please answer the question.
Please.
Let me please answer the question.
Let me make my statement. If you want to put a sidewalk in there, you could cut down the size of your building.
Sir, it's in the floodplain. We are adjacent to the floodplain. The south end of that site, the preponderance of the site, the church site as it exists today, it's 5 acres. There's 1 acre that's out of the floodplain. We are raising portions of the site out of the floodplain. For every part of the site that we take out of the floodplain, we have to provide compensatory storage at 1.5 to 1 ratio pursuant to the ordinance. So we have done a very careful balancing act to bring as much of the site out of the floodplain as is necessary to complete the site, but we still have to get back down to the existing elevations, the existing grades, and at the south side of the parking lot and the south side of building 9, there's a steep transition or steeper transition down to the existing grade and the floodplain. If we were to put a sidewalk there, it would either be in the floodplain or we would have to fill the floodplain, then creating more compensatory requirement for compensatory storage. So we are balancing the many factors in the design. It's been an extremely painstaking exercise to try and address all of the competing influences to arrive at this plan. So it wasn't that we dismissed the input. We didn't dismiss the input. We did the best job given the physical constraints in the site plan.
So I think you could make the building smaller. You could possibly move the building a few feet to provide some additional space for a sidewalk. That's my belief, okay? My next point, one of the things that I was concerned about was some provisions for satellite equipment and other centralized communication equipment. How are you going to address people that want to have satellite dishes and receive satellite signals, where are they going to locate their antennas on your site? What provisions are you going to have for, how many people can live in a building? 30 some odd units, you said?
There are 32 units in each.
Where are you going
I'm
to
answering the question.
provision 32 satellite dishes?
There are 32 units in each building. Each building has a TV, telephone, and data room. We bring 3 separate services into that. We provide AT&T, Comcast, and satellite, so that we have 3 potential dishes, one for Dish Network, one for DirecTV, and one for foreign language channels. We will have one location that's designated the most aesthetically pleasing location that still gets signal reception, with a wire and a conduit from that location down into the TV, telephone, data room located on the first floor. From there, there's a wire that branches out into each of the 32 units. So any customer at any time can select from the myriad choices of providers, with the minimum number of dishes on the building being 3.
And where are they located?
They are located specifically on the buildings where they have to be located in the most aesthetically pleasing. They're not consistent location because of the different orientations. The satellites need to point typically to the southwest, to the geosynchronous orbit. So if one building is oriented this way and the other building is oriented another way, we may have to change the location. We will identify in the field with the satellite service providers the optimal location for signal reception and serviceability, and then factor in the aesthetics. We absolutely do not want 32 different dishes located like mushrooms popping up on these buildings. So we've taken the steps to accommodate that. I think we all know that the FCC and the satellite companies have lobbied effectively to require reception. That's why you see all these dishes everywhere, because federal law mandates that you must allow reception. We're providing a conduit and dish locations, so each building will have, like I said, maximum of 3 dishes, unless somebody can come up with a reason why we would need more than DirecTV, Dish Network, and a foreign language channel. So we've definitely done our homework to minimize the impact of the dishes.
Alrighty, and I thank you for doing that. That's exactly what I would have expected. Getting back to your compensatory storage, you said you needed 0.49 somethings from...
There's a table in the packet that defines precisely, entirely, the compensatory and the detention requirements. So anytime you build anything, you need to provide detention. But when you fill floodplain, you need to compensate. So the underlying MWRD ordinance requires when you fill floodplain, you must compensate for it on a 1-to-1 basis. The village ordinance ups the ante from 1-to-1 to 1.5-to-1. So if you fill an acre foot, you have to provide 1.5 acre feet of compensatory storage. So therein lies the very careful balance between how much detention and compensatory storage we're providing. We have provided for all of the MWRD code required, and that's the new ordinance, compensatory and stormwater on site. It is the village's ordinance, that increment, that compensatory increment going from 1 to 1.5, that portion is what we're asking for to be provided by the village in the already constructed detention facility.
And what does that come out to in terms of acre feet that you will be requesting?
2.41 acre feet.
Okay, so that's roughly 3.5% of the capacity that we have available to us. Is that about right, Andrew?
2.4, when we have 20, I believe we have 26. Mr. Tack, since you are here, maybe you could fill us in.
Yeah, that's correct, Andrew. We have 26 acre feet of compensatory storage available in Heritage Lake, and we have 10 acre feet of detention storage available.
So what percent would they be using of the capacity that we have available?
Well, if we have 26 acre feet total and they're asking for 2.4, it'd be slightly less than 10%, right?
Alrighty, and I don't know if we can put conditions on final plot, but I would like to have that number somehow built into our recommendation that that's what they're requesting from the village. Irrigation. The fine print on the plan says a bunch of things here and there, but it doesn't say that the east side of the property is going to be irrigated. It doesn't say that the south locations will be irrigated. It says the central location will be irrigated, but I'm really not sure what the central location is. Is it the open space that's up near the top? Is it the interior walking path areas? You know, you go on and say, you know, the flower beds and stuff around the buildings will be. But I would really like to see a plan that shows exactly where all the irrigation is going to be done, something that's colored in on the plan and not just central area, because I don't know what that means. I'd really like to see that on the plan. On the fencing on the, let's just say along the railroad side or a berm, you know, there's some discussion, some open questions about should we have a fence or berm or landscape. Fences tend to degrade over time. I'd rather see a rich, living landscape area that does that for us. And I guess that's my comments for now, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Stein, could you go over that, the last one, since we have the, what were you, your comment? So just so I could hear that again.
I would much prefer some kind of living berm, hedge, tree, kind of separation on the west side of the property from the railroad tracks rather than having a fence. I think a fence would look bad to the train people, and it probably wouldn't do much to enhance the look of the property, where some kind of living evergreen combination with trees would do much better.
Great. Thank you.
Personal opinion.
Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. You know, I would have to agree with Commissioner Stylen as far as benches around. You know, it is going to be a lovely piece of property, and I think people will utilize that to walk around, and it would be nice to have some place for them, somebody to sit as they're walking around, whether they're walking with their dog or their grandchild or they're just walking themselves. And the other piece of it, a gazebo or something, would certainly look nice on the property. I'd like to see that as well. And I would agree on the irrigation piece as well. I have a question, and this is probably for staff. What is the setback from Northgate to where this is going to be, where the first building's going to be?
You know, I don't know that off the top of my head. I think there's a setback line actually on one of the plans. I think they're shown it.
I couldn't find it, so that's why I asked.
It's a minimum of 50 feet.
Pardon me?
It's a minimum of 50 feet.
50?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
It's on the landscape. The line here, if you zoom in, this is labeled as 50, this line.
Those are my only questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Is there lighting at all planned for these interior walkways for safety reasons?
Let me see if I understand. Andrew, you going to the plan?
But it seems like the light levels are pretty low, like through that main walking area in some parts.
We have provisions on each of the buildings for the wall pack lights, the LED light that we illustrated. There are several locations on the building that have been identified that don't conflict with bedrooms. They're in a recess, and so there will be outlets, or excuse me, openings, electrical openings in each of those locations, and on the side of the stair towers as well to provide illumination should it be necessary. We're not trying to over-illuminate the central area. Again, these are bedrooms and living spaces back there. And on the fronts, we can't avoid that. With the parking lot, we have to provide illumination, but we're not trying to over-illuminate the rear. Obviously, at the rear entrances of all the buildings where the two emergency exits are.
If you can scroll that view down a ways.
Yeah. Okay, so here and here, we have wall pack units that are illuminating the central area. We can add them if it's deemed necessary in other locations. We wanted to try and illuminate the path without creating an overly bright area. And we chose to do it from this location and this location. And then as the path winds down here, we pick up another one on the back of this building. And then similarly here. And then, again, I picked up the pathway illumination here, and then this one here.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else at this point. Thank you.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. I'm still disappointed that there are no lights for the interior pathways. There could have been decorative lights put in to go along with benches and something to break up just a walking path. I'm disappointed I didn't see that. I'm disappointed that the structure is not brick. There are buildings in the village that are 100% brick. They do look nice. I'm not a fan of cement fiberboard, and as far as that being masonry, I still don't like that. 38% of the building is brick. I'm not for that at all. The parking, I think you're going to have trouble if it snows, like we've had. I think you're going to have some problems. I do not like that there is not enough covered parking. There's not even any provisions for if you wanted to put in covered parking, you couldn't do it. I don't know where you would put it. So you've left that out, and I am a proponent of covered parking.
Well, remember that this was all before us, and this was all that this is all that we approved. This is a I'm trying to think of the words. This is our, final PUD, and this has all been approved. So please remember that as we're discussing, as we're going through these things. Some of the things that were highlighted that weren't shown on these plans that we thought should have been are germane to this, but talking about the parking that isn't there, we've already approved all of these things.
I understand your concern.
Right.
And we will leave it at that.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that I'm satisfied with it at all. There was a request from the trustees to add more brick. And as far as I can realize, it wasn't. There was supposed to be more brick on the front.
We did, in fact, add more brick.
I'm sorry?
We did, in fact, add more brick to the front elevation pursuant to the request and in keeping with the recommendation in the approved plan.
And that was, you added more brick where?
Here, 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 and then symmetrically on the other side.
Okay, you did add a minimum amount of brick. And that's all I can say about that. I think to me, it could have been better. It's just an ideal location for something that could be a centerpiece. The other thing that bothers me is there's no access to anything. You are, and you have planned this as being self-contained. The access to the train station. They're going to have to, as far as I can see, they're going to have to cross the street in order to get to the train station. Is that true? Or do we have provisions of building a sidewalk on the west side of that bridge?
The petitioner's plan does include the extension of the sidewalk down to Dundee Road to get to the crosswalk to cross Dundee Road.
Oh, okay, so somewhere along, we're going to build, or there will be built a sidewalk on the west side of that bridge.
Yes, the sidewalk extension, let me see if I can.
Includes the bridge.
It's page 115 of the packet.
See if I can find it real quick. 115, you say?
Yeah, that's the aerial shot.
All right, let's try that. So it includes an extension of the bridge where the plan that the petitioner's engineer has presented is mirroring the way the sidewalk is constructed on the east side of the bridge. So it would be above the deck. And Mr. Tack, I don't know, have you had specific discussions with their engineer regarding this design?
Yes, we have. We asked them to design the walk from their development over the bridge and all the way to Dundee. The actual funding of the construction is something that we're still discussing, but we did ask for the design.
Right, okay. I think it's going to be a traffic nightmare. It's a traffic nightmare now. That location during rush hour is, and I think I read somewhere in there, there's a request to put a turn lane in there. Is that true?
I'm not sure where that would be in the packet. It doesn't sound familiar to me. In this development, there's a request for a turn lane?
Because I thought somewhere along Northgate Parkway, there was going to have to be a turn lane in there.
I think the question may have been of the striping for the existing turn lane. I don't have the aerial going that far north. The new access that's proposed into the development, I think there was a question of how the median is striped at that particular moment. I don't know if that's in the staff report, though. Mr. Tack, do you recall that from anything? If there was a question of how to break the existing, Northgate Parkway alternates between being double left, and there are a couple places that are striped at the exact break where this new driveway is proposed. We may need to restripe to show the left turn lane, but it's an existing lane. It's just a matter of how it's striped, I believe.
I do recall some striping considerations, but as far as additional lanes, I don't remember any discussion on
It
that.
says on page 11, it says, as noted in the traffic study, the center lane of Northgate Parkway would require modification to designate a left turn queue.
It must be at the point of this development. It's been, I think, probably a year since I wrote that. But the point at which the turn goes is striped. It's difficult to see, but in this, you can see where this left turn lane is picking up. Let me switch to my other thing. This lane here, you see where it leaves the hatched and becomes a dedicated left turn lane. Up on Northgate Parkway, there's a hatched area that must be directly in front of where their driveway is proposed. So it's just something that we had pointed out, that they'll have to stripe the left turn as opposed to the hatched median.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, it's a nightmare now, but traffic considerations being what they are. To me, the parking was predicated on the use of the train, and that's fine, except train doesn't run on the weekends. And I think that there's going to be more parking use than you have anticipated. That's about all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Powers.
Thanks. Andrew, can you pull up the photometric plan for me? And then just shrink that for me. I want to ask a question about the main pathway on the north between buildings 5 and 6, and on the south between 2 and 3. I see circle numbers 1 and 2 behind 6. I see 3 and 4 behind 4, and then I see 1 behind 5, 1 behind 6. And it looks like there's 29 of those numbers. Are those 25-foot poles in that area there, behind those buildings?
Each of the numbers indicates a location of a luminaire, and the ones that are on the backs of the buildings are actually mounted to the buildings. That's the wall pack that was shown earlier. The others are pole mounted, and I believe they're 18-foot standards, 18-foot tall standards.
So like behind building 6, are you saying that there's 2 18-foot standards behind in the back there? Because I see the designation in the areas, I guess they're designated as C, but you also have, circled numbers, and I see there's 29 of those, and I see 29 is like, goes to type A, which is the standard light pole. So is that a standard light pole behind the buildings?
I'm trying to find out where you're looking
Okay,
at.
so
Andrew's got it up on the
Make
screen.
make it bigger, make it smaller. Okay, so you see the number 3 and 4 behind that building, the circle number 3 and 4.
Yep.
There's 29 of those on the photometric plan. Are those the standard light poles?
No, those circles aren't the standard light poles. That's just calling out where those luminaires are.
C is if you go to the legend.
Oh, yeah, I understand C, but I'm talking about the numbers in the circles. There's 29 of them, right? So if you look at the legend, it says label A. There's 29 of them. So
you're saying
Yes.
this number 3 here?
Yeah, what does that
That's not a light
designate?
pole. That's just identifying the location of the lights. So 25 here. C20, C.
So where are the
this
so
is
everything
light
labeled with an
3
A is a light standard?
C25.
Okay.
Okay? I can't, my eyes are terrible. C26, excuse me.
I don't know, to me that, So do we have can you?
Here's a light fixture on the back of the building. Here's a light fixture on the back of the building. This is a pole. Oh, sorry. Andrew,
That's okay.
You gotta help me out here.
So that's fine. I guess that'll explain. I guess I misinterpreted. I guess the thing I'd like to see is, I agree with everything everybody said, but as far as amenities on the path, have you thought about why not put like bollard lighting on the path? That would be nice. We had that in the front, illuminate the path, put some bollard lights in there.
We have some constraints as well regarding the pathway. The path itself is a fire lane. It's 12 feet wide. It needs to be clear 3 feet on either side of that 12 feet. So it precludes the placement of any substantial vertical elements within that zone.
Is that true?
He's citing a basic fire lane, and that is a correct statement. However, we can obviously work with him in some places, like this drawing, if you look right here, you've got a big dead space between the two buildings and the curve of the fire lane. Obviously, in that location, something could be worked out in the arc between the two buildings right there.
I mean, even the exterior, what about the exterior path on the west side? You can't put bollard lighting in there?
Yeah, that's completely dark.
It's completely dark. I mean, you can't put bollard lighting in there?
We have streetlights here.
Yeah, I understand, but, I mean, just to give it some character, I mean, even the street lighting standards, I mean, did you entertain at all doing some type of different street lighting standards? I mean, today I was in downtown Arlington Heights, I saw the tall standard, but there was a decorative black, extension with a nice light fixture on it. I mean, is that something we can get in this development?
We're very happy with the selection we've made for the light fixtures.
And that's the issue, okay? I have nothing further.
Oh, I don't think it was the type of lights. It was
Well, the style.
style, but you also said the positioning.
Yeah, I wasn't clear about the positioning of the 29 lights, so I understand that now.
Commissioner Zangara?
Thank you. Two questions that I have, since most people hit on a lot of the other stuff, was the one entrance where you have the signage that says North Gate, I guess your main entrance. Are those signs there lit? Do you have any ground lighting those up saying?
Yeah, we will have illumination on those signs.
And that will come before us.
Okay. And then also, I know that's the third entrance, Phase 2. Are you going to do any kind of entry feature like that when you do Phase 2, Building 9 there? Because that's probably going to be, when you pull off of Dundee, most people turn right into there, I would think. Would you do any kind of feature?
Well, we'd probably do lesser scale ornamentation there. This is definitely our primary entrance because it leads to the clubhouse and the leasing center.
Okay.
So we want to establish a hierarchy there.
Other than that, when these paths now, like, does that fire lane in wintertime, that has to be snow removed and everything? Okay.
Yep.
That is correct.
Okay. That was really about it. Everyone else kind of beat down everything else I was going to say, so.
There's a couple of things that are resonating through the commission here, and the first item that Commissioner Steinle brought up was the lighting, the request to lower that, and we have code, and the question is, I'm going to ask the commission, is that should we request or put in these plans the standard lighting that is requested per our code, or is it what would we?
The petitioner's suggestion, if I can just rephrase it, is that the village code has 3 categories of lighting: low activity land use, medium activity land use, and a high activity land use. The only residential designation in there falls under medium. That designation is not further defined elsewhere in the code. What the petitioner is suggesting is that the low activity light level is appropriate for this type of development. Lacking a definition, they're suggesting that it is more appropriate to use the low activity level. The original interpretation of our code is there's one residential item listed, and that it fell under the medium.
So the question is, do we stick with our standard of medium or go with their suggestion of a low, the low designation? So Commissioner Schaaf, it's a question of going with our code, which says medium.
Medium.
Right now, medium. Commissioner Powers? Our code. Commissioner Stylin?
Our code.
Commissioner Johnson?
Our code, I guess, yeah.
Commissioner Zangara?
Can I ask a question before I answer?
You can, but it's already 4. But please do. So it clarifies.
You talked about the one in Vernon Hills. What is the lighting concept there, and is it up already?
Say again?
You talked about Vernon Hills
Yes.
being a certain density, and this is higher than that one.
Yes. So, Andrew, help me out with the specific code designations again. Is it 1.6 minimum
I was just trying to pull that up so I could read the.
versus, yeah, go ahead.
Right, and the way that the staff, we've actually worked with the petitioner to revise this. What the staff suggestion was on this one is to treat, if we could take the parking areas and the main activity areas and look at the foot candle levels in each of those areas, compare that back to the code. The code does have a minimum light level, an average level, and it has a maximum level. And as the petitioner said, what they're trying to balance is achieving the average in the areas that you expect activity, the parking areas, the entry areas. So achieving the minimum average in those locations without, on the other hand, going above a desirable maximum in the other areas. So we have actually worked with them to revise it to get to the point where we were satisfied that they had included enough detail on the plan. We were, under the original plan, the February version of this plan, there was no detail of the entryway lighting, so the garage lights, the soffit lights were not accounted for. This plan now has there's, I don't know if you have the count, but if you zoom in, you can see the number. There are, this one is 84, 85, 86. So each building, every few feet, there's a light.
The coach light that was the example which was included in the
So if you
specifications.
compare that to your typical garage door light, your 60, I think these are listed as 100 watts. I can't remember, I don't have it in front of me, 60?
60, max.
So if you imagine those every 12 feet or so, that's what the base of the building is going to be. On seeing that, we were certainly a lot more comfortable with it than lacking that detail.
But the low designation is in the parking lots.
Yes, so what the petitioner is suggesting is that the parking area of low, there are other items listed in the low. I can't get to the internet connection, so I don't know if you have the zoning code available. But the other land uses that are listed under low, petitioner's suggestion was that those are comparable in activity level. Therefore, it's reasonable to assign the low to these parking areas as well.
That's really the
church parking lot.
Yeah, that's really the essence of the discussion. It's whether or not the ordinance, which doesn't have a definition for the residential use, what is the wording of that again? In the
residential parking lot, I believe, is the one in the.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the question is whether or not that is the most appropriate designation for this type of area, when it's also, that same designation is for a retail parking lot.
So the low level includes retail, neighborhood retail. It includes industrial employee parking, educational facilities, and church parking. So church, educational, industrial, and neighborhood shopping. The medium, which is the next level up, includes the larger shopping centers, cultural, civic, recreational events, office building, hospital, fast food, and residential complex. So residential complex is the illumination level.
Yeah, and even based upon what was just said, I don't see why we would designate it as low. I was to you. So you asked your question, but then we went on a tangent
And well, hearing that, I would say we'd have to do it to our code right now.
And Commissioner Dorban?
Village code.
Yeah, I agree. I compare these lots to a shopping center. You've got these bigger lots, and I'm sorry that you're taking lights that are in front of a building and trying to, it seems like you're trying to average it out that those would be low? Is that?
No, what I was suggesting was that the original plan that we received in February was requesting this same designation, but it had not accounted for hundreds of light fixtures. So the revised plan, what I was saying was that the revised plan now satisfied my original concern that the areas that were not accounted for at all, so the soffit lights,
right,
the garage lights, and probably half of the wall-mounted LED fixtures in the rear weren't shown on the plan. The plan itself was incomplete for that reason.
Okay.
So having now received those details, it satisfied the staff concern that the light from those additional fixtures is now accounted for on the plan.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the parking lot. Nothing. Those are in front of the building. They're not in the parking lot. So it's medium. It's going to be code. That's what we're looking for the parking.
And in addition, I mean, that path around the outside of the parking to the west is zero on the thing,
Yeah,
We have streetlights right there. Couldn't they be angled a little bit to provide some light to that pathway?
Not by the code. They have to point straight down by the code.
So then maybe we need another fixture attached to the post that lights up the pathway occasionally. I think the pathway needs to be illuminated.
I would agree.
If we're talking about amenities for the site, that to me is one of the nicest amenities that people can get out and walk around their property. I just think the lighting needs to be improved, period.
In general, I would agree. I would agree that the lighting is inadequate, and I think that was a general consensus from the board. Also, on the plan, as Commissioner Steinle pointed out, and I know we talked about this, benches and grills, and those aren't designated on the plan. And unfortunately, what happens is when plans go before the board, we never see them again, and those designations, when we ask for them, they say, well, they're not on the plan. So we need to see some designations for those, where you're going to put benches, and if you're going to put grills or anything else, we'd like to see that. Also, the irrigation, I'm reading this here, and it says the final landscape plan calls out areas where irrigation will be installed.
And it's on L1.
Yep, L1,
Top right corner.
Okay, L1. What page is that?
At least I think it's L1.
Yeah, it's
Landscape
L1.
irrigation, it is page 64 of your packet.
Yep.
And it reads, foundation plantings, monument sign areas, clubhouse, central green space, and western landscape area. So following the notes of the plan, that would be.
So, but it's not really designated. I mean, besides the words, there's nothing that shows the landscaping on here. And again, that has been an issue with us in the past. So that has to be added. That has to be added where, I see the words, correlate the words to actual designations on the plan.
Yeah, do an overlay of some kind.
Yes, exactly.
With a shaded area or something, yep.
And the last thing that I heard was the landscaping on the west side. I would agree with Commissioner Stylen that berming it and make it natural instead of a fence, I think would be, that is a much better idea than a fence.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to see the density increase. Maybe that would help for screening. I mean, just increase the density on it, make it more of a screen. I mean, I think that would be good.
However they want to do that.
Yep.
Right. Was there anything else? I think these are all valid things that were just not on these plans and need to be added before we move forward. So, Andrew, what is this a table?
Well, it's up to the discretion of the commission and the petitioner if they would, between the commission and the petitioner.
No,
we don't have a consistent.
No, we're going to continue this.
We don't have what I'm asking for is a specific direction of what we're talking about revising. I've got
the
increase the lighting to meet the code.
Right. Designation on the plans for amenities like benches and if there's going to be grills, okay?
But do we have a code level for a walking path around the outside of the premise?
What we have is their request to light it as shown. That's essentially what we have. We have no specific, as far as I know, there's no specific code that says pathways between the buildings. I believe it says complex parking,
Well,
residential complex.
I will tell you that a light level of 0.00 is not going to be acceptable for any walking path level for me.
So, point one, are we shooting for a?
I don't know. You tell me give me your professional opinion on what a walking path lighting level should be around the perimeter outside of the building.
Is the intention to have the walking path, the western walking path available for use at night?
No. No, the primary, the objective is to focus all the amenities and all the connectivity among the residents really towards the center of the property through the green space and at our central area, the clubhouse and all the focal amenities. That really was the intention. The path was added as a request, but it's not our expectation to encourage people to basically move away from where we're putting all our amenities and all our attractive,
Well, wouldn't you want them to walk their dogs over there instead of in the center?
Well, that's why we created a whole dog walking area as well.
Yeah, but to get there, they have to go through dark areas.
So as of right now, we have the request, the suggestion of the commission is to increase the lighting level in the parking lots to meet the minimum standard.
Yes.
Yes.
So minimum being the medium in the parking lots. Is there a suggestion of a path, a western path, central path, minimum light level?
Yes.
What is the?
Let's go outside and measure the light level right outside this building and use that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would depend upon staff for.
Something other than 0, and I'm not sure a .01 is.
Right.
I want people to be able to see where they're walking.
Yeah. For so many reasons, safety being the utmost.
How about staff? Do you guys have any recommendations on what a good minimum light level for people walking on a sidewalk would be? Is .00 acceptable?
What's the Park District doing, Andrew, for the path around there?
In the park?
Mhm.
Well, it's a totally different standard.
Obviously
It's
not the
public-
ball fields,
It's
but-
a different, it's a defined standard in the code. A recreational facility has a minimum license.
But even the walkway when it goes around the pond?
They intend it for public use at night. They have events that are at night. They light the path so that people can get from the parking lot to the facility.
Exactly, and that's what I believe it's going to be used for, so it should be lit to that level, period.
Yeah, a lot of people like to walk, and
Yeah, start with there.
So at this point, you have the options available to you based on the timing that you have are to request a specific date. It's not technically a public hearing. You can request, though, to prepare materials for a particular meeting date with the Plan Commission. You could request that they just table, it would be technically tabled, it's not a public hearing, but if you have a particular date in mind, you could do that. You can request, although the commission does not have to grant it, you can request a vote up or down as to the plans that you've presented with the information that you've presented. So if you have a particular idea of how you'd like to proceed, if you have any other questions for the commission about what the expectations are for revisions, this would be the time to ask that.
Okay.
When is the next available date?
Yeah, we'd like to know when the soonest we could reappear before this commission.
I believe June 12th is our next available meeting. I can double check that for you.
Then I would request a special meeting in advance of June 12th for this commission.
If you could share the rationale
Sure,
for that with the
yeah,
commission.
Yeah, we've obviously been working very hard, diligently, to bring this plan to fruition. There are multiple factors that we've had to address to make this plan a reality, not the least of which is the site work. We have a geotechnical considerations with the soil conditions on the site, that there are some higher moisture content soils that require undercuts as deep as 10 and 11 feet. So that soil needs to be excavated, dried out, and replaced on the site and compacted, brought up in lifts, typically 6, 9-inch lifts, and at the proper moisture content. The only time of year that is suitable for that is July, August, September, to anticipate that we could get those soils to dry. If we miss that window of opportunity, this project gets delayed. So it is critically important. We've got our EPA permits, we've got our floodplain permits today. We're into the MWRD, we're into the soil and water conservation, we've got final engineering submittal. Everything for this project is geared towards closing this deal at the end of June and allowing us to move dirt, which is a physical reality that we,
Okay.
all of it is lined up. So, I respect the concerns. We'd like the opportunity to address them. If we can come back here in a week with responses, that would be ideal.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have the church. The church is moving. They're planning on moving out. We've got a closing date set with the church as well.
They need to buy a new
They're looking to buy a new facility. Their purchase of the new facility is contingent upon our purchase of their facility.
I realize that. And I don't know what happened in between, but right around our first meeting in March, this was on our agenda. And it is now the end of May, and it's first coming before us. So I understand that, sir, and I understand, but this is not all on this commission right here, sir. Okay,
it's just timing.
so please understand, please understand that, but what you're doing is you're saying that we are the ones the implication is there, but this was on our agenda in March, and it now is May 21st. So we have, the 12th is our next official meeting. Can we call a meeting? We can call a meeting on the 5th.
Call a meeting on the 5th. The item, the workshop next Tuesday is specifically a joint board and plan commission meeting.
Joint board.
So you could call a meeting on the 5th. The 5th of June goes to the June 16th board meeting, which is prior to the end of June.
That would certainly,
I won't be here, but. So
that would
who will be here on the 5th? Commissioner Schaff?
Yeah, I can make the 5th.
Commissioner Powers? Commissioner Steinman?
Don't know at this time.
Commissioner Johnson?
I think I can.
Commissioner
On the
Thangarso?
5th?
Yes.
Yes.
I will not be here. I know I will not be here. So we've got 1, 2,
Do we have
3, 4, 5.
We have 4 who are definitely available?
Yes, we have 5 that are definitely available.
And 1 maybe, and 1
One
definitely
maybe.
not available. So
And
we
definitely
have
not available.
as many as 6 are possible?
Right, yes.
Is it it's technically not a continuation, although we would be scheduling a special meeting for this. Is it the consensus of the commission to schedule a
Yes.
special meeting for that purpose?
Yes.
And that date is acceptable?
yes. Thank you.
And before we leave, I just want to go through exactly what the expectation is for the plans. The lighting plan, my note is the parking lot area. The Plan Commission is not in favor of the request to assign the low-intensity level for the parking lot, and is asking that you provide the medium for their review. They're also asking that you provide a minimal light level along the central path. Is that correct? The central path is the concern?
Well,
all walking paths.
Yeah, all the paths.
yeah, and, and there were designations in areas that had, well, they were along the path that had no lighting whatsoever.
So the areas designated for walking have some minimal light level along the path?
And other than minimal, can you provide them with what the Park District uses, or some number that's other than .01?
What I would do is ask your lighting consultant actually for what the light level is. We would probably defer back to our street lighting standards to see what between the two, what the dip is, the very middle between them. We would probably go to that. If your lighting consultant has a suggestion, an expert in the field would probably be more useful than the staff at this point.
And then designations on the plans for any types of benches, any types of amenities that were going to be there, which weren't there. And then on the landscape plan, specifically the irrigation.
Your landscaper may have that, just to show, if there's a
We'll
sheet
get a
that shows
color
the-
exhibit.
Right, yes, that's what we're looking for. And
Thank you.
enriching the landscape on the west side to eliminate the fence. And that could be just
Can I
visiting.
address the fence issue?
Sure.
Because this has been debated back and forth.
Yeah, I know it has been.
Multiple times,
You
we
know
had
it,
it out,
yeah, I
we
know.
were asked to
You're
put
right,
it back in.
we have.
So,
That
and then
you brought it up.
when we were asked to put the path back in, it was noted that if to put the
Fence.
path in, we can't do the berm because we need a flat spot. So we
Right.
got the fence with
You're right.
the pathway.
That's right. I do.
Yeah, the language of the preliminary was such that the fence could be taken off the plan if they were able to provide enough of a berm. And the berm, if you look at the grading plan, which I don't.
You're right.
I've had this,
You're right.
I've been in this situation before, make a suggestion that we put the fence in, because that's going to create the immediate visual barrier, put the landscaping in. As the landscaping matures and the fence deteriorates, you make the condition that the fence can be removed when the landscaping matures to a point where it provides an adequate screen. I mean, the other thing is, we're surrounded by that ditch, so we'll probably want a fence. There's a safety consideration for having that fence there. That was the other thing.
That was it.
And
Yeah, I can
so,
understand that. Commissioner Dorban, leaving the fence there on that west side.
I see your point in leaving the fence and then putting the vegetation in front of it. The problem is then vegetation also dies. So I say leave it.
Okay, Commissioner Zangara? Leave the fence, or
I would leave the fence.
Commissioner Johnson?
Fence.
Commissioner Steilen?
I would still prefer to have a dense enough vegetation area that you didn't need a fence.
Commissioner Powers?
I just leave the fence.
Commissioner Schaaf?
I'd remove the fence.
And I would leave the fence. So it's 5-2 to leave the fence. Okay. And I think that's it.
The lighting, fence on that pole, okay. Landscape irrigation zones, benches, grills, gazebos, indicated on the plan.
Can I come back to grills? We are providing outdoor cooking areas in the proximity to the clubhouse. And it's been a notation with the fire department, we need emergency gas shutoff valves. We had contemplated the gazebo initially with the addition of the fire lane and the use restrictions. There's really no appropriate place for the gazebo. Benches, yes, we'll come back with some benches, but because of all the requirements with the grills, we're going to keep them proximate to the clubhouse, and we'll put some parkway seating at appropriate locations.
As long as you designate those things, and now that you've explained it.
Yeah.
What's this thing, I mean, that's showing right now, right? It says open space. There's a big open space.
Where we got?
Oh, no, go back, right to the left over there. Center left.
Right, yeah.
It says open space. Can't put a gazebo or something in there?
What's that?
Looked like a perfect spot for me. No fire lanes around it, no, nothing.
Again, as Matt explained earlier, we're trying to keep the focus around the clubhouse. That's where we're concentrating all of the amenities.
Well,
Complying with outdoor music.
How far is it from building, this top left one down to the clubhouse? If I wanted to barbecue a steak, how far do I have to walk?
100 yards.
And I'm going to walk 100 yards back. I wouldn't do that. I don't know about
It's
you.
not, keep in mind that we're intending that the clubhouse is open and available for people to use there. That's where they do the entertaining. These are 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, so the notion of entertaining a larger group is
I'm not even talking about a larger group. I'm saying a husband and a wife might like to barbecue a steak. They're not going to walk halfway around town carrying stuff to barbecue and take it back. I believe they're going to want to have something a little bit closer. So they'll rent a garage, put their barbecue in a garage, pull it out, barbecue on their little...
Code doesn't allow barbecues on, do they allow?
We wouldn't permit that. We can't have barbecues on the balconies.
They have to have non-combustible
Yeah.
balconies, and these are not non-combustible balconies.
Okay.
On the driveway.
And that would be prohibited as well.
Right. What about in walking path areas? I mean, in those areas on this specific plan, grills and things that far out, charcoal and things like that, would that be allowed even?
There wouldn't really be a restriction on it for a, like they said, a residential type grill like a Weber or something of that type.
No, I'm thinking more of what you would see in a forest reserve.
area,
Yeah, you know, a post with 3 sides and a grill on it, something like that.
There's nothing that prohibits it. It's a maintenance issue and, you know, unattended coals, but there's nothing around it to burn, so it doesn't necessarily become a problem per se. So there's nothing, like you said, there's nothing that prohibits it.
Personally, I'm on the fence on something like that, but, you know, how do you feel about that, Commissioner Dorban, about grills in general area?
I'm on the fence about it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I see the need for them, and I think people would like to have them, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Personally, I think the clubhouse works nice just because what we're talking about, you're going to have garbage can for the coals, then you're going to have people, you're going to have garbage going all over the place too.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, the clubhouse area is good now. I think if their residents demand it down the road,
That's true.
That's up to them.
Commissioner Styler?
I'd prefer to see as many amenities as possible. I consider that one of them.
Commissioner Powers?
Yeah, I think I'd want to see it, amenities, as an additional around some of the buildings.
Commissioner Schaff?
Well, there's one clubhouse to serve how many residents? I think it's a case of numbers. The more amenities you provide, I think the more they'll be used. So I'm for all the amenities.
Specifically, I'm talking specifically about grills.
Yes, the fireplace or the grills?
Yeah.
Absolutely. As many as you can get in.
Commissioner Dorban, I'm going to go back to you.
Okay.
What would you, as far as
Up or
grills?
down, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah,
I say add 'em.
yeah. And I would too. Just, if you can figure out a way to do that. Yep, I would too. I shouldn't have put you on the spot. I should have said what I was
That's
thinking.
okay. Won't
I
be
was
the
thinking
first time
about
you put
adding
me
them.
on the spot.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. So, okay. We have everything.
The notes that I've added to this, which I'll print out for you, the Planning Commission published a special meeting of June 5th, 2014 to accommodate the tabling of this docket. That meeting will be in a location to be determined. I am not 100% sure that this room is not occupied on the first Thursday of the month. Is tabled for the purpose of lighting, specifically medium level in the parking areas, adding lighting to walking areas in the center and west, showing irrigation zones, and adding benches and other features to the plan, such as grills.
Yep, good.
Are there any other modifications that are not listed there?
No. So we don't have to make any?
A motion to table and a voice vote is fine.
Motion to table?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
The second to that motion was Commissioner Powers?
Yep.
Well, they're doing that approval of minutes of May 8th.
So moved.
Second.
I'll put them in the closet.
All those in favor?
Get your copy of this.
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
For the tabling of this, our plan would probably be that the additional staff not necessarily be made available for a special meeting. We can discuss that as the date approaches. So when you receive the supplemental materials, if you have questions on the materials that would be more appropriately answered by either the fire department or the engineer. If you could send those to me, we can coordinate as to whether or not we can provide a response or if their presence might be needed.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Didn't they want their stuff?
No, I'll put it in the closet for them.
No, what about, did they get printed out what the conditions were and everything?
Oh, it's okay. It's on that table.
Mr. Jennings, any other business from you?
I have no other business this evening. We do have the meeting Tuesday, but I have no other notes for it.
Well, I was going to bring that up, but eventually. Commissioner Dorban?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Zangara?
Nothing, just everyone have a good holiday.
Right. Commissioner Powers?
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Stadlin?
Nothing?
Commissioner Johnson?
Nothing.
I just, about the special meeting on Tuesday, do we even time, date, time? Where is it at? I would assume it's at Public Works?
I will forward you the details of that. I don't want to correctly
Yeah,
announce
do we-
it.
After you get it?
I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, okay.
So is there an agenda out there yet?
I believe there is a memo discussed with several agenda topics on it. So I'll.
Is there anything you need to prepare for?
Let me get the details and forward it to you. I believe it is in the Public Works building in the evening on Tuesday.
6:30, I would assume.
There was some note about arrival time, but we'll forward things.
I can't hear you.
It's in the evening on Tuesday,
Right,
around 6:30.
Around
I'll send it to you and
okay, so that
normally-
means 6:45, 7 o'clock.
Normally they have pizza, something they eat beforehand, so it'll probably be 6 o'clock or something like that. Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.